fact that of all the people in this booth who could dispense that advice, it's you.
I have a college degree, thank you.
It's the way in which you say it.
Stay in school.
We got a race from Enrico here and a shot from...
Whoa, Calfon's all in.
Calfon, yeah. I'm afraid he's not all in for very much, so he's just definitely going to get called here.
Yeah, Rudolitz open with a min raise to 200k. Calfon's all in is for 820,000.
And Enrico's just getting exactly 2-1 on his money, so I'd be very, very surprised if he folds anything here.
Well, he's not in love with it.
Well, no, you never are, because I think Calfon's just super strong. But whatever you have, you just get a call here, and you just figure you have enough equity in the hand. Maybe you can make a case for folding just to keep the short stack alive, but even that's not a viable... No, you could actually...
You put it back on the chip stack, right?
I'm laughing at the fact that the dealer counted out the chips and then had the discretion to put the little devil back on top.
Yeah, that's my favorite EPT dealer right there. She's doing a great job with the little devil.
That is Gemma.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Rudolph must have a really terrible hand at this point. Or maybe he's thinking about what I said, where he's like, I could fold and keep the short stack alive. But even that is just not that good for him at this point, because the short stack is on his immediate left, you know. It would be a whole lot different if there was like some other stacks in between him and the short stack. I think you're just going to call this off. And
that's just got to be what, like just absolute bottom third of his hands?
Oh, it's going to be really bad. Or he just made a mistake there, you know. Quite possibly it was both. It was really bad and a mistake to fold there, because I don't know.
Like if he's raising like ace deuce or something like that, is it, you know, does you just assume that you're going to be dominated so often that you can get away from that?
I mean, like you'd have to be very sure the guy folds king queen there or king jack or something, you know. Because yes, you're behind his range, but you're not behind all of his hands, and you only need like 30% equity in that spot. So if you have 30% against,
you're saying because of the pot odds you're getting.
Yes, of course, yeah. And
by the way, that hullabaloo you can hear in the background is the final table of the High Roller event resuming. We had that update from Howard Swains from the PokerStars blog that 6 players remain, and there are the 6 players taking their seats right now. Martin Jakobsen coming into play as the chip leader with 1.3 million. Wojtek Ruzicka, second in chips with more than 1 million. Alexandra Reard, 943,000. Tim Riley, 823k. And then we've got Bryn Kenny on just under 500,000, and Steven Silverman bringing up the rear. And that's what they're playing for. We've already lost 3 players from that final table. McPhee, Goldberg and Duhamel all bust last night. So 6 remain, with the winner set to receive more than 300,000 euros. And a reminder that a bit later on, we'll give you the option of where you want us to go, whether you want us to play out the final table of the main event, or whether you'd like us to see the High Roller final table, those 6 guys competing.
Now, in that vote, there is a right answer and there is a wrong answer. And do not screw this up. I can't even believe we're having a vote.
Yeah, I don't really understand that either. I think we should just be watching the main event final. Just not even close.
Well, it is the viewer's choice, but my advice would be to the viewers to listen to Stapes and Dominic Nitscher, and let's stick with the main event and follow those updates of the High Roller on the PokerStars blog.
Don't muck it up.
Please prove
We got
that democracy still works.
We got a raise from Boo Habib on the button here, and this time it looks like a 3-bet from the big blind.
Castellon deciding this time he doesn't want to play out of position without the betting lead.
I had a question from Robert on Twitter earlier on. He says, do you guys think Castagnon is on tilt right now? Is this a good time to start reshoving a short stack on him, or should he be avoided?
I don't think he's a good player to reshove a short stack against.
I would agree with that for sure.
Because he's just going to call when he shouldn't be calling. And it's a massive disaster for you if you get called at this stage, you know. There's so many short stacks, and you just got to make sure you move up the pay ladder. And really, that guy's not a big fan of folding, you know.
Zach says the lack of the whole card cameras is painful. Well, Zach, bear in mind,
Nah.
EPT Live has been going now since 2007, and I can count the number of webcasts we've done with hole cards on the fingers of one hand.
We got a call here from Boo Habib. Just to recap the action, Boo Habib opened from the button. Guignon 3-bet. Sorry, Castagnon 3-bet from the big blind, and we get a call from Boo Habib. Ace-3 king is the flop here. I would expect just Castagnon just to follow this up with a continuation bet like all the time. Something along the lines of like 400 to 500,000 seems about right.
Just pile it in, brah.
I mean, especially after Boo Habib was so hesitant to put in chips pre-flop, I would tend to put him on like the weaker part of his range there. So I would just follow this up with a continuation bet like all the time.
$500,000 is the C-bet.
It kind.
Well, actually, just shy of $500,000. 475,000.
See, this looks like perfect sizing to me. There's really just no need to go any bigger, and Boo Habib quickly calls, which kind of leads me to believe that he has a hand. Maybe something like Ace-10, you know.
Just some middle ace.
Yeah, he could also have a hand like King-Queen, King-Jack, you know, possibly suited. He's just, you know, like as I've said before, like if you call very quickly, if you see someone call very quickly in that spot, it might mean they're trying to discourage the other person from bluffing. So like they're kind of giving off that they have the weaker part of their range. And all in all, just from the way he's acting, I would tend to think he's more likely to have a king than he is to have an ace. But that's just going from live reads, you know. We'll see how this works out.
Right, just from sort of the fact that he was like a little reluctant to call before the flop.
Yeah,
And
just
so quick to call on the flop.
yeah, and it could also just be a random weak ace he decides to call up, you know,
Yep.
But really the truth is that the hand is pretty much over as soon as Castagnon checks the turn, because really what's he going to represent if he checks the turn and then bets the river, you know, like there's no hand that he could have. If he had like a good ace, he would almost always go for three streets. And yeah, so he's done with the hand, goes check, he's going to muck his cards. Yeah,
Wow.
and boom, hand over. Yeah, that was...
Castagnon.
He doesn't even want to see it.
Boo Habib doesn't. See, like I think that's a mistake. Like that's a mistake everyone makes, and I just get really annoyed at people when they do it, especially pros. When they muck their hand on the river and the other guy just gets to muck his cards behind, I'm just like, what the hell are you like?
Yeah, like you put money in this pot, you get see the cards if you want to, and
if you
also sometimes you could win. Like,
well, no, it's not that thing. It's most likely that if you muck your cards, everyone knows you're bluffing. So like, why just muck them? You know, there's no reason to. Like everyone knows you're bluffing anyway, so why just muck your cards? The only I mean, like you're not gonna muck like a pair, so everyone knows you had like 9 high or something. So in general, like if you muck there, the other guy just gets to, you know, the other guy gets to muck behind. Like you just really want to see everyone's cards at this stage, you know.
Well, yeah, Castagnon now down to 4 million. Rudolitz way out in front with 8.5 million. Wally Boo Habib is second on the leaderboard. The short stacks right now are El Khoury, Gaines, and Calfon. Robert Romeo also in danger of, well, he has actually slipped below the 20 big blind mark. So one guy with more than 80 bigs, a couple of guys on around 40 big blinds, everyone else fewer than 20 big blinds. And number 18 of the final table. Action folded to Robert Romeo.
I mean, just a quick follow-up on the hand. I'm very sure Boo Habib did indeed have a king on that hand, not an ace. Just given how quickly he checked back the turn and the river, you know. He just knows he has no reason to bet, and he knows he's going to win the pot, so he just checks behind.
Players in the 2K, please retake your seats. The tournament is just about to restart. Players in day 2 of the €2,000
Min plus raise from Romeo, which gets folds from everyone else. Zach says, Zach was the guy who was finding this a little bit painful with that hole card. Says, maybe this is because I normally watch poker on TV. I suppose watching it this way helps my reads?
I guess.
Yeah, the majority of live poker, Zach, you'll see, of live streaming will be without hole cards. Granted, when we have one of our full TV productions and we've got the whole card camera table, then absolutely we'll bring you the stream from the final table on a 45 to 60 minute delay with the whole cards displayed. But the vast majority of webcasts that we've done over the last 6 seasons have been whole cards down.
I just don't like the drama of calling it painful. It's not painful. Pain is painful. Getting punched in the eye is painful. Watching something on the internet for free that you don't have to watch, not painful. Get over it.
You want to know about pain? Ask Calphon. Second hand in a race. Second hand in a row. We've seen a race from
Romeo
Romeo.
takes it again. Yep.
Wow, that is actually a really good tongue twister. Second hand in a row. We've seen a raise from Romeo. You say that 10 times really quickly.
No.
Chris Day says, love EPT Live without the whole cards. Much better for improving your game. John says, of course you need to stay on the main event. We've been watching it for 3 days now. We'd miss out on the final? Some people have been watching for 6 days, John.
I was just going to say that.
I've been watching for at least the last 2.
I've been playing for 2 hours and watching for 6.
Oh, sorry,
Again,
buddy.
getting the full main event experience here, you know.
2,000 euro event that started yesterday. We have 86 players. We're down to our final 7. It's seat 1 from France. We have Julian Depatch with 49,500. Seat 2, Simon Massix from Sweden is 78,000.
By the way, obviously we talked a little bit with Dominic about his role on the EPT Players Council. If you have any questions you want to ask Dominic about that, or anything in general, you know what to do. nuts@pokerstars.tv. That's where you should direct your emails. Alternatively, you can tweet with that hashtag EPT Live.
With 262,000. Seat 3 from France is Lionel Cohen, 177,000. And our final table player is Vasily Vazal from Belarus with 59,000.
See, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of action going on here right now because the stacks are so shallow that, like, as soon as you have like less than 40 big blinds, you're not going to see a whole lot of flops. And you know, most of the hands are just going to go raise and take it.
Yeah.
So, or it could go raise, fold, no, sorry, raise all in, fold, or like raise all in, call. We're not going to be seeing a whole lot of flops right now, and
we're at that classic stage of the final table, Dominic, where we need some eliminations, we need some chip stack consolidation.
I mean, absolutely, yeah. Like, as soon as, you know, like a few short stacks get eliminated, we're seeing a whole different game here, and it's going to be a lot more interesting for the viewers. But right now, this stage of the tournament is very important, and it's very, very important that you play it well too.
Marius says, as you're discussing mucking cards before showdown, he says, I will never forget Giuseppe Pantaleo's muck on the river at EPT Barcelona final table. He mucked when it would have been a chop.
See?
Unlucky, bro. No, seriously, I don't. That was a colossal mistake. That just shouldn't happen.
Rudolitz raising from the button. Calphon all in.
If the devil goes across the line, it means that Calphon is all in. Wonder if he got the call from headquarters. Calphon, we can't wait for any longer. This drug gang in Marseille needs to be busted.
And this time, Calphon, bring the car back in one piece.
Ruda is just asking for a count here. You know, I mean...
Well, again, it's just shy of 9 bigs to call.
Nah, it's 10 bigs. It's more than $1 million. So it's pretty close to 11 big blinds. See, if you raise folded for 8 big blinds earlier...
Well, I just mean to make the call. It's,
oh, sorry, yeah.
It's just 900,000 more. He does call.
Calphon's at risk!
It's all the same, though, isn't it?
Who is have Queen Jack here?
Rudolitz with the Queen Jack, Calphon with the 4s.
Yeah, the Queen Jack here is pretty much an automatic call, and Rudolitz calls quite quickly. Yeah, we're off to the races.
Special Agent Frank Calphon flipping for his tournament life.
I kind of want to see a Queen here.
I fear for Rudolitz. If he hits a Queen or a Jack.
There's more at stake here than just chips. national security.
Ace, 7-6. Neither player has a heart in their hand. Deuce on the turn. Calfon now an 86% favourite to double up. Just has to fade a queen or a jack on the river. The French go wild as Special Agent Frank Calfon proves he's indestructible and doubles up.
Doubles up to 20 big blinds, you know. Let's just not forget here that he still only has a quarter of the chips, you know, of roulette, so... Not quite sure what he's that excited about, but...
Yeah, but those 20 big blinds will last him at least another 3 levels.
It's true. The way he plays it's certainly true, yeah.
In all seriousness, I know we're joking a lot about Calfon, but Joe and I have seen him in the hotel every single morning at the breakfast table, and he seems to know every other French player in this tournament. He's obviously a regular on the poker circuit, plays a lot at the Aviation Club in Paris, and that's why he has so much support here.
Does he know about his nickname?
I have absolutely no idea. I hope so, and I hope he takes it in the spirit in which it's intended. Not being funny, if I was playing in a major poker tournament and some foreign commentators decided that I looked like a secret agent, I'd be thrilled.
They decided
Absolutely,
if they made
yes.
a character out of me at all, I'd probably be happy, unless it was like, you know, the American clown, which is French for clown. Actually, I'd probably take that too.
Then stop trying. He says a Calfon double up should inspire you to sing the Calfon theme again.
Look, you guys can just hope that he wins. Then we'll do it.
Alex says, pocket fours, that's the nuts when Calfon's holding it.
See, like, he has his own whole fan base now, you know. Right, is there anyone on the rail rooting for Joseph El Khoury? You know.
Not as many as are supporting Calfon. We have made him the hero of this final table.
He's a hero, but he's got a sordid past.
Stefan has a question for you, Dominic, on Twitter. What achievement of the Players' Council are you personally most proud of?
There's like a whole lot of small things we changed, you know, like we talked about everything basically, so like we sorted out the EPT structures, we sorted out the payout structures. Yeah, all of these are a whole lot more player friendly right now, and like probably the best thing to come out of it was like they started out like combining the national tours, like the FPS, the French Focus Series, with the EPTs, which I think is a great idea, and it's just fantastic for everyone. So yeah, I think that's so far is the best thing to come out of the whole thing, that because like it was our idea. Like we brought this forward, and you know, like we said, we really need these 1K events to draw like bigger fields. Yeah, so far it's been fantastic. Numbers this season have been great, you know, and just all in all, like the whole experience of an EPT has just kind of improved. Like we have the EPT concierge to help you with everything at the EPT. That's also new this year, and I think it's one of the best things ever. So, all in all, if you come to an EPT, you're sure to have a great experience.
Alexander says, go, 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 Calfon. And Rob makes an excellent point on Twitter. As Wally Habib moves all in. I'll cut back to your tweet in a moment,
Wait,
Rob.
I'm sorry, what is going on here?
Well, Gaines opened.
Yeah, but...
Now, bear in mind, he only has a 14 big blind stack. He opened with a 3x raise. And now Boo Habib is basically putting him all in.
Oh, Boo Habib's all in from the big blind. Yeah,
yes.
I kind of just misread the positions here, and I was saying, why the hell is Boo Habib going all in for his 50 big blind stack? Alright, just a quick thing here. Making it 3 times the big blind from a 15 big blind stack is generally a mistake. And then not knowing what to do to an all-in is an even bigger mistake. Yeah, you know, you could...
It's a call.
He calls fairly quickly. He probably has a hand here, like, looks like 9s or 10s, something.
Ace is
It's
the
for
hand
Boo Habib, right?
for Boo Habib.
Definitely, yeah.
10s for Gaines.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter whether he opens shoves or whether he calls the all-in. All the money's going in here.
yeah, you know, but I would still prefer an open shove.
It just happened in a weird way.
Yeah, I mean, like, the whole 3x raising thing, and then, you know, like, you just look too strong if you make it that. If someone 3x's of, like, a 15 big blind stack at this stage, and I just sit there with pocket 9s, I'll be scared. You know, I'll tell you that, I'll just be really, really scared. Especially Against Gans, I'd probably just fold, like, 9s there. And I'd probably even fold ace king and just not tell anyone about it,
Right, but all the hands that are like doing pretty well against you are the ones that are going to shove on you.
Yeah, and you're not folding, so if you go all in, you're just kind of perceived to have a slightly weaker hand there, In a way, he's over-representing his hand there with tens.
It's again set to be our 7th place finisher here in the EPT Deauville main event. Needs a 10.
Yeah, it's just like the absolute dream spot for Boo Habib to wake up with aces. Let's just be honest here. And,
He's going to need to see that 10 on the river down to 5%.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Nah, not a big one.
So we lose one of the 2 Belgians at the final table. Noel Gaines exits in 7th. He'll collect 87,800 euros. And we go 6-handed. And a few more reactions to Calfon's double up. Seb says that wasn't a flip for Calfon. The German was drawing dead there. Rob's point, which I wish I picked up on when he showed his hand, 4-4. Calfon, of course, always carries a 44 Magnum.
The 4-4 Magnum, yeah. Karam asks, no cameras for the final table, question mark? Actually, there are cameras. That's how you're seeing it. Several cameras, actually. So I'm not really sure what your question is.
Lucas says, I'm sad that Asnar of the Hill People is so swiftly forgotten. Pay respect where it's due.
Well, he's not in the tournament anymore, and we're sort of just covering the people who are in it. So there's that.
And a question for Dominic Nitscher from Marius. He says, please talk about winning your World Series of Poker bracelet. How did you overcome such a big field?
I got lucky. I got very lucky for 3 days. And on the last day, I got so lucky that they decided to cut the tournament short because I had kings all the time. That's a real story. We were on the final. We were supposed to come back the next day. And then I just said, oh man, if I don't finish this tonight, I'm gonna have to play the main the next day. And I can't go out drinking if I win. So the dealer was nice to me and just gave me kings all the time. Gave the other guy queens. And, that's just how it worked out for me.
Is that how you have to win one of those 1Ks? It was a 1K, right?
Yeah, it was one of these massive 1Ks, and of course you have to get lucky, especially early on because the blinds are so fast and everything. But yeah, it's a massive field, and all in all, you just gotta get lucky sometimes. And I'm just fortunate enough to have done it this time, and have done it in such a big one, Yeah, and as soon as it gets down to the last few tables, you can start building stacks if you're experienced. And, take advantage of weaker players. With all due respect, I would say that my final table was one of the easier ones in the World Series. I got a lot of inexperienced players there. So I could just kind of chiv up and...
They weren't sure how to beat constant kings.
Well, yeah, maybe they should fold sometimes here and there, but they just never did. They just never folded, and I just had it all the time.
By the way, we've got people obviously joining us a little bit late, missed some of the early action, may have missed Jeffrey Hakeem exiting on the second hand of the day.
Yeah.
Gary tweets, say, what happened to Castignon? 10 million to 4 million? There was a huge hand, I think it was hand number 6 of the final table, where he basically ended up calling the all-in on the river of Enrico Rudelitz. Rudelitz had flopped top set, and Castignon had called him down all the way with an underpair to the board. Rajiv says, I'm still railing Remy Castignon. Go, 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 Remy. Alex says, watching live poker and playing online at the same time, could life get any better than this? Remember, if you want to play online later on, if you want to play in today's EPT Live free roll, we will give you the password a bit later on. So this is hand 24. We're 6-handed now. Jeffrey Hakeem out in 8th. Noel Gaines out in 7th. Joseph El Khoury, still the short stack at the table, playing 14 big blinds. And action has been folded.
I mean, he's going to be happy to see Gans get eliminated there. It's a big pay jump. And really, with a 14 big blind stack at this stage, you're just kind of looking to move up the ladder, and just make sure that people who are around your stack, that you just outlast them, because that's what it's all about. Right now, he's the short stack by a pretty long shot, though, so he's got to get in there, see if he can double up, and then hopefully make a run at it.
So he calls in the small blind, Castignon. El Khoury checks his option.
It's really quite unconventional play by Castagnon here. I mean, there's not a whole lot of hands I would be calling with from the small blind against the 14 big blind stack here. Especially against a guy like El Khoury, I think it's perfectly fine to just shove any 2 cards. Because, you know, against someone who doesn't have much experience playing the short stack at this stage, you can really just shove like any 2 cards up to like a whole lot of big blinds.
They're scared money. It's going to take them to have a pretty narrow range for them to call you.
Yeah, exactly. So, what did we just get a bet on the call or a check on the call? Which one?
It was a bet and a call. Castagnon
So
made
Castagnon
125k.
And El Khoury calls. Yeah, I'm just really just kind of surprised as to how on earth El Khoury hit this board. Because, let's be real, if he had a hand like, you know, like most queens, you know, like any decent queen, he would probably just go all in with pre-flop. A whole lot of good kings, he would just go all in with pre-flop. And, you know, I would just kind of expect him to just check a lot of his, well, like weekends that just missed the board. It's just a weird hand already, and you know, like the same is obviously true for Castagnon. Like if he has a hand like King 5 there or something, he's always better off shoving than just limping blindly blind. Or I mean, like there's just not a whole lot of hands they both can have there, and I would just, if I had to say something about the hand, I would just think that El Khoury was trying to float there, but it's really just not a good situation to float, you know, because like you can't credibly represent anything. Well, and also you're just much too shallow to put off a credible bluff there. It's
well,
just
having watched El Khoury play for the last few days, I don't think floating is really something that's in his repertoire.
So, what do you think he had there? I mean, it's just, was he just calling with like, I don't even know.
And I'll also say that like it's kind of within the realm for him to have just called with like a weak ace. He's just not the guy that's shoving before the flop.
Oh,
like,
yeah, okay. If you think he checks, well, then I guess that's kind of what he had there. But
like it's just I watched him play all day yesterday, and with this same sort of stack with big blinds, he did a lot of calling, a lot of calling flop bets even, and then folding.
Yeah, I mean, if you play that hand, you know, if he had an ace in that hand, I just don't like the way he played it at all. You're just gonna have to shove pre. You just gotta protect your equity in the hand, and you just can't let the guy see flops like that. And you just gotta try to take what's in the middle. Maybe he did have a hand like 10-9, but even then I still don't like the way he played it, so I don't know.
I mean, there aren't a lot of hands he should be calling with.
It's just
he did.
It was just all in all a very weird hand.
Calfon's raised under the gun to 200,000. Looks like Romeo is going to 3-bet. Well, it's just a call. He did not put out enough to make it a raise.
Did he want to raise, though?
He maybe just wanted to call.
I'm not sure.
Either way, it was not enough to be forced to raise. It was less than half the amount needed to make it a raise, so they let him pull it back, and it was just a call.
Huh. I mean, I wasn't looking, so... What do you think? Do you think he wanted to raise? It's kind of...
I mean, it's an easy call. It's a hard mistake to make if you're just trying to call, because 200,000 is such an even amount, so maybe he really was trying to raise. But it wasn't even close to the right amount. Castillon calls from the button. And Rudolitz folds his big blind, despite getting 4-1 odds.
Yeah.
No, more than that.
Way more than that. He's in the big blind.
8-1.
Must have been a really bad hand. That's about the only excuse.
Well, I hope he didn't fold deuce tray.
Or deuce 7 or something like that. I mean, at this stage, it's very unusual to see... Excuse me. To see pots go 3-way. I mean, with stacks being as shallow as they are, it's just... You know, like we have a raise from a 20 BB stack and a call from a 20 BB stack next to act. They should be on really strong ranges here. And Castagnon to overcall there, I don't really think he is that strong. So I don't really think he should be in the hand in the first place. But, you know, these two have been playing kind of passively, so I guess Castagnon is probably playing like quite a few hands there.
Well, speaking of passive, Calfon gave up the betting lead.
Yeah, no, it's quite possible that Calfon just has a hand like ace high and decides he doesn't want to continue against that many players. Romeo, on the other hand, should probably just have a pair there like quite often, but apparently he didn't, because he lays it down and Castagnon wins the pot. As soon as it goes check on that board, I expect Castagnon to just take a stab at this pot like all the time. And he did. He bet quite small, very good bet sizing by him. There's really no need to bet much more than 300. And, you know, you're just going to end up taking it down a lot if they don't have it. If they have a pair, they're going to check call you, but then you're pretty much done with the hand. So, well played hand by Castagnon.
Yeah, he's back up to 4.7 million. Rudolitz still with a chip lead. Bouhabib up to 6.2 million now.
I mean, this just kind of looked like he was exploiting the weaker players on this table. Because, you know, if you do this against good players, they're going to realize that if you overcall there, you just never really have that much of a hand, you know? I think he was just trying to take advantage of the two inexperienced players, and good job. Nice hand.
James, is this tweet an insult or a compliment? Coverage is totally Moorish. You're like Maltesers. Children hungry, wife sobbing, me nodding sagely and pretending I read the hands.
I think that's a compliment.
Okay.
And I like it. Thank you, Jason, for that tweet. Nanad says you guys must be doing something wrong because the hottie is not laughing today.
I don't know what that means. Is Dominic the hottie?
I guess.
Oh, Louise, you're the hottie.
I thought it was me.
She's working hard on something else, I think. She's trying to field all the complaints from the jokes and singing from yesterday.
To be fair, I did hear her laughing loudly once when Castagnon tabled fives. Inge Christofferson is trying to plan his day and says, when will there be a longer break to plan for some grocery shopping before dinner? I think you may have to order online.
I don't know how I really feel about all this interactivity. There's a lot of like very specific catering we do to people. Hey guys, what's up? I've been at the gym. What happened? Can you catch me up?
And what do we say? Go to thepokerstarsblog.com.
No, we do it. You do it. You're way nicer than I am. Speaking of the PokerStars blog. There it is. And that's it.
Under the gun raise from Bouhabib. Folded around to the blinds. Calfon's out.
Calfon.
And a fold as well from Romeo. So we've seen 27 hands so far at the final table, already down to 6.
I mean, all in all, we're just not going to be seeing a whole lot of flops here, but honestly, I still think we're kind of seeing too many flops. Like, the hand where it just went 3-way, and like, you know, the hand where the limp blind be blind. Like, all in all, if the stacks are the way they are, you should not really be looking to see flops. And there's some people who I think do it quite well, like Bouhabib, Bouhabib has been impressing me with his play. Like, I think he's playing great so far. And Enrico, obviously, is a really good player. So I kind of want these two now to, you know, tear the table apart, see what they can do. And if they get chips, it's going to be very interesting.
Fold it around to Calfon. He's loading up.
I find that with a lot of players at this table, as long as they literally can call raises pre-flop, they will
They
call
absolutely
raises
will, yeah.
pre-flop.
And
Calfon fires.
Robert Romeo is like the best example for that. Oh,
Here we go.
I'm pretty good at this game.
2.2 caliber bet.
See, Enrico probably realizes that he can't be going too wild at this stage. He's realizing he's getting called too much. And he's just like, all right, I'm just going to sit back, relax, have a sip of my Coke, and just, you know, wait for some people to get eliminated.
Calfon loves to show.
He shows.
Ace Jack.
Ace Jack. Yeah, just a general idea here. Enrico could be looking to attack Bouhabib quite frequently, because Bouhabib does seem to be playing quite well, you know. So I'd be kind of looking to go after Bouhabib's big blind. That seems like a pretty decent spot. Bouhabib seems to realize that he just can't really tangle with the chip leader, and also he's not going to be completely unreasonable in his actions, you know. So like, you just gotta attack the chip leader, just from a general tournament strategy standpoint. Like, Like, if you go after Castagnon might just do something crazy. Buaviv is not the type to just do something completely insane.
By the way, Inga Kristofferson, I know you're a she. It was actually a verbal slip. You've been watching EPT Live for yonks. How could I forget you? Stapes, I'd only bring this up if there were several tweets on the same subject. Several people feel that you're sounding a little bit grouchy today.
I don't feel particularly grouchy, but I'm not handling complaints about this pretty cool free service that we provide very well at the moment. That's all. And that's about it.
I love that. Calfon doesn't just represent France, he represents the world.
They changed it from said international before, now it's president.
El Khoury all in from under the gun.
Yeah, you know, El Khoury has just been playing really tight, so I'd be very surprised to see him doing this with a weak hand here. No, he's been pretty solid with this deck, and he really seems like he's enjoying his time at the table. Well, you know, like, it's a big TV table. You just
Go on, show. It's good for the game.
Of course, he shows
Ace King. Go
see.
on.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I was saying. I'd be very surprised to see him move in with like a marginal hand that he should be shoving. Like if he has a 10-9 suited there, I think he's folding. Although it's a great spot to just get all your chips in.
Chris Day has a question for you, Dominic. He says, what do you think of EPT London being across 2 locations next month? Could it hurt side event fields?
That's a good one. I mean, I've been thinking about that because the news just came out like a few days ago. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Like the general idea was to have it at the Landmark Hotel, I think. But now they had to change it due to some legislations, I guess, where they tried to apply for the venue but couldn't get it through. I think it will hurt numbers, and I don't think it will make for a good player experience. But, you know, PokerStars will do their best. I heard they're providing free shuttles between the venues. They're going to try to do as much as possible for the players to make it as good as they can. Yeah, obviously the solution is not perfect, but I had a look at the schedule. They split out the events really well, you know, like the smallest stuff will be at the Hippodrome, and like the big events will still be at the Vig. So I'm fairly confident they'll do a good job.
Yes, just to clarify, the main event is going to be held at the Vic.
Yeah, and
EPT London going back to its roots, and many of the side events are going to be at the new PokerStars Live card room at the Hippodrome in Leicester Square.
If you play the high roller, you will get a free Oyster card. So,
I guess you should play the high roller then.
plus EV there.
I think there will be a free shuttle, but I don't. I heard there will be a free shuttle.
Well, Calfon's raised it up from under the gun +1. He's got 2 calls.
Yeah, see, this is Romeo just doing what he does all over again.
Oh,
just
make that 3 calls.
calling off a shallow stack here.
4-way action to the flop. Not a single one. 3 of them with sub 20 big blind stacks.
Castagnon overcalling from the small blind here. That's quite a whole different thing to just overcalling from the button. I mean, if you're overcalling the button, that's you can make a case for that. But if you're overcalling from the small blind, you're basically just calling to make a hand. And you're really just not deep enough to do that.
Everyone check the flop.
Yeah.
But I can flop trips.
Yeah, or quads. Really, like, you're just basically praying to hit a flop, and that's just not a good strategy with these stacks, you know, like, it's check again, yeah. King on the river could actually go and, you know, change some of the action, like, we might actually see a bet now from someone.
Nope.
This is, like, one of the weirdest sends I've ever seen.
Calfon with a king. King 5 suited. There's another king from Romeo. King Queen.
What's going on here?
Yeah,
What's Calfon doing opening with King 5? Why isn't Romeo shoving with the King Queen?
and what does everyone else have in the hand? Yeah, I don't know. And why on earth does the river go check?
That is just a 2013 cold deck right there.
They might be playing on a level way higher than me at this point, but I just quite frankly don't understand. Yeah.
I always say, Dominic, don't look for logic where there is any. So if it can't be explained, just don't even try. Christoph has an email. He says, I think the stream without the whole cards is great. You saw the whole cards. A lot of the interesting strategy and analysis by your great guest wouldn't take place. The way you can really this way you grasp how a good poker mind really works. Please can you ask Dominic to comment on his take of the ICM situation at the table, and also reflect on the ICM effect that the big hand Castagnon lost at the beginning has on the table. Well, first of all, for anyone who's new to poker or hasn't heard this term before, explain ICM for us, Dominic.
Well, ICM basically means independent chip model, and it just means that your chips will lose value if you go deeper in a tournament. You know, like you're playing for the payout ladder, and you're not just playing to win. I mean, like if you collect all chips in a tournament, you're not going to get 100% of the prize pool. You know, you're only getting like 24% or something, or like 20. So in general, the chips you win are worth a whole lot less than the chips you lose. So you should be looking to be very careful at the final, not get into any close spots, and pretty much just never risk your tournament life. So yeah, just like with an effect to this hand is Castagnon gave up his chip lead. That's a colossal mistake that should just not happen, you know. He had too many chips. Enrique, on the other hand, was like second or third in chips at the time. So he's pretty much not looking to bluff the guy. You know, like he's not going to go for a huge triple barrel bluff there. Like I saw someone earlier ask me, how would I play ace-king in Enrico's spot? And I'll just be like, well, you know, the 3-bet seems fine. 3-bet with the obvious plan to just 5-bet shove. And as soon as the flop comes down, like, you can fire 1 or maybe 2 barrels. And, like, I'd probably just tend to fire 1 barrel or none against Castagnon, just from the way he's been playing. But it's a massive ICM disaster for Enrico to fire 3 barrels as a bluff. If he goes out in this hand, you know, he's made a massive mistake. And that would be an absolute ICM disaster. You know, like so Enrico quite technically couldn't be bluffing there. So the Castagnon hero call is obviously a disaster.
If you had to guess, Dominic, how many of the players at this final table would you say are aware of ICM considerations?
No. I mean, like, there's... What do you mean aware? Like, I'm sure a lot of people are like, they know, like, how the price structure affects them, but, like, does anyone actually really understand ICM? I would guess probably like 1 or like close to 0. Like, understanding ICM is a whole lot more than just looking at the payout structure. And it's actually something that's very, very important, but like that's something like very top tournament professionals don't even fully understand. Like, you have to do a whole lot of math. And just to like get the basic of it, I would say like Enrico and Bihaboob are playing by far the best right now. Like, they're playing good, solid tournament strategy. I think they get it, but it doesn't mean like they fully understand ICM.
We've gone under the gun raise here from Walid Bouhabib. Min plus raise to 205,000. Fold around to the blinds. Calfon in the small. He folds.
See, like, if you like think about ICM in that big hand that Rudelitz and Castagnon played against each other,
yeah.
I think it's quite obvious that Castagnon doesn't understand ICM. He might be a cash game player, you know, who was just trying to be a hero and take control of the tournament, but really he doesn't realize that in this spot in particular, if he loses the chip lead here, he's giving up control of the tournament. And that's what has happened, you know. He's now like he's in the middle of the pack here, and you know, he's not the massive chip leader anymore. It's going to be a whole lot more difficult for him to make chips right now, and Enrico's in full control.
Well, a couple of minutes ago we were talking about the next leg of the EPT, which will be in London, and we were talking about the new PokerStars Live card room at the Hippodrome. Kiel on Twitter asking about the Hippodrome. The Hippodrome is a legendary nightclub on the corner of Leicester Square that had been there for decades and then closed down and was renovated and reopened as this fabulous new casino. And PokerStars have entered into partnership with the Hippodrome to run the card room there, which relaunches as PokerStars Live on the 4th of March, and it's going to be a great venue for live poker in central London.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if it's like maybe too soon for them to have an EPT there. Like, I thought they might be looking to do it in like a few years, like maybe next season, but this might be too soon for them to have a big event such as an EPT. But we'll see.
Patrick Winterbottom on Twitter says, watching the final table of EPT Deauville via the PokerStars TV app and struggling to understand what some of these guys are thinking. Well, look, if Dominic Nitscher's struggling to understand what they're thinking, you've got no hope, buddy.
And he's related to the famous German philosopher.
I mean, some of the stuff Nietzsche wrote is easier to understand than their plays, so...
Gerald says this looks like a 1-2 cash game at times.
El Curry under the gun. Sub 10 big blind stack.
Is he shoving or is he folding? He's folding.
Fold-in, yeah.
You forgot limp as an option.
Nah, he wouldn't do that. He's just... I mean, like, the mistake he's going to be making in this spot is that he's going to be shoving too tight. He's not going to limp or, like, min-raise. He's not that kind of player. Like, while someone like Robert Romeo is much more likely to make a mistake like limp or, like, call raises with shallow stacks. Because that's just the way he plays the game. He likes seeing flops with shallow stacks.
Well, Romeo's raising 225. He can still raise if he wants to.
Oh, no, I mean, now he can't, but like, because he has like 25 BBs.
Right.
But early on, we saw him like call raises with like 15 big blind stacks, 16 big blind stacks, and just like trying to play flops when really you should just be getting your money in pre-flop and just like take down the pot. Actions on Boo Habib in the small blind. He's a very fast player, so I'd be very surprised to like just see him lay it down here. Like, maybe he does have a real decision and is going to fold, but I expect him to put chips in the middle. And looks like he's cutting out a 3-bet.
Yeah, he's not a big tank folder.
No, I'm going to have to say again, I think he's playing really well, and he's my second pick to take this down.
Boo Habib makes it 525,000 total.
See, like, that's also like pretty much perfect sizing by Boo Habib. It doesn't matter what he has. I heard Boo Habib is good friends with Jeff Hakeem, and like I play with Boo Habib in Cyphers a lot, so I know he's quite a decent player. So yeah, this is showing right here that he's not just a fish, you know. He might be an amateur, but he's a pretty good player, I would say. Like,
There's definitely a difference between inexperienced and fish.
yeah, you know, but
And we might be seeing that difference now.
yeah, kind of what I've been saying here is that Romeo likes seeing flops. Yeah, no, I can't stress enough that Boo Habib is just playing really, really well. Surprises me. I mean, like, I've not seen. I mean, I know he's like solid and everything, but he's playing a lot better than I expected, and a lot better than you would expect from an amateur. You know, he's not going completely insane just trying to win. No, he's playing really well.
So knowing what we know, that Romeo likes to see flops, he's probably not 3-betting too light,
No, I don't think so. Not at all.
especially at this stage.
It's just, I mean, it's just kind of like trying to think of what I would be 3-betting in his spot there, and it's very difficult. I mean,
He folds, and he folds face up, showing
What?
tens.
What?
You raise fold with tens out of a 25 big blind
shows
stack?
a queen. Whoever shows a queen
What?
like a boss. No, I mean seriously. Yeah, no.
Well, let's just get back to the hand in a
Oh.
moment, and let's just check on Wally Boo Habib's route to the final table. At the end of day one, he had just over his starting stack and was ranked 271st out of the 419 players. Finished day two in a slightly better position, almost
Middle of the pack.
still middle of the pack. Day three, he had 500,000 and was 14th out of the 51 remaining. Came into yesterday as one of the shortest stacks and came into today, into the final, second of
I mean,
8 players.
that basically looks like what I was saying. Is he's a pretty solid player, you know. Like he finished day one with slightly more than starting stack, and like he's, you know, and yesterday he basically just caught a heater, caught a few lucky hands, and just built a big stack. And here he is.
So let's just go back to that hand then, Dominic. I mean, ultimately a big mistake to play tens that way with that stack.
I mean, I guess tens just kind of have to go in there, you know.
It's a big pocket pair.
It's a really big pocket pair, but I mean, like, it's not a horrible fold, because just looking at the payout structure, there's Frank Halfon on 1.7 mil, there's Joseph El Khoury on less than 10 big blinds. So if he really thinks that there's no way Boo Habib is ever folding to the 4-bet shove, then I guess he just has to fold.
Why show it. Don't you make yourself so exploitable?
I would never show that hand ever. You kind of should just fold and then move on, you know? Like,
oh, my
just
word.
fold and move on.
Rudelit's raised under the gun and El Curry flats from the big blind?
Yeah,
Pot odds?
yeah, I'm just kind of surprised to see Rudelitz just not follow it up with a bet here. If I had to guess, it actually just kind of means that Rudelitz hit this board and he's just trying to get El Curry to bluff into him on later streets. You know, I don't think Rudelitz would check back here if he missed the board. He would probably just try to take it down. And now on the turn, it's a whole lot of more two-pair combinations for both of them. But it's more likely to have hit Rudelitz, so Rudelitz just gonna bet like 200 something and quite possibly just go all in on the river. See, that's also like one of the reasons why you shouldn't call off a 10.
Now he's all in.
I'd be very surprised to see Rudelitz fold here. I mean, he bet pretty big on the turn, and there's no reason for him to bet 250,000 when he could just bet like 200. You know, like he's gonna call this.
He's getting 3-1 on his money for a start.
He's gonna take like a few seconds and just realize that he has
I
to
think
call.
he totally whiffed.
Well, why check back the flop then if you totally whip? Like, why give the guy another chance to hit the turn, you know? Like, if the guy's calling there and he has like Queen Jack or something, and you have nothing, you just want to bet the flop and take down the pot. Well, if you check back, you should probably
I certainly agree with your logic, I do.
You should probably just have a hand when you check back the flop. Maybe he does have a hand like King something that is just...
He calls.
Ah.
Ace-7
Yeah,
is
what-
the hand for El Curry.
Of course that's El Curry's hand. And that's gonna be Queen, so like King Queen.
And Queens, yeah, is the hand for Rudelitz.
Yeah, I think I got that one.
Yeah, you did.
Boom, right there.
So
To
El
be fair,
Curry,
he did whiff the flop. though.
I was gonna say, yeah.
El Curry is going to need
I said that though.
an ace or a 7.
All right there.
El Curry's at risk here.
See, El Curry just made like a big mistake there, I think. Just not realizing that when Rudelitz checks back the turn, he's never folding, and first of all, he always has something. You know, it's just one of these hands where you...
Yeah, no threes of no consequence. So we lose another player from the final table. We've now lost 2 of the 3 Lebanese players who came into the final today. Joseph El Curry goes out in 6th, winning himself 125,000 euros.
I mean, the truth, quite simply, is that as soon as Rudelitz checks back that board, he looks stronger than if you bet it. You know, it's just one of these things where if you check, you look stronger than if you bet.
Well, why is Rudelitz taking so long to make that call? I mean, can he ever really fold?
I mean, no, he's never folding. But, you know, you can't blame someone at a final table, I think.
Sure, I'm not mad about it. It's just
No,
curious.
but I was expecting a snap call too, and he doesn't have that much experience at this stage, so...
That's what confused me when he took that long to make the call. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he legit has nothing.
No. There's no way he plays nothing that way. I'd be very, very disappointed if he decided to bet the turn, like, he bet like 250 on the turn with nothing. Like, why would you bet so much against a guy who's either going to fold or go all in, you know? He's too good of a player to just make that turn bet with nothing, and he just exploited an inexperienced player there, and I actually think he played that really well.
So we're now 5-handed. Daniel says, greetings to the German fellow. That'll be you, Dominic. When are you going to tell me the password? I have to go shopping with my girlfriend.
Unlucky.
In good time, Daniel.
JBL.
maybe we'll reveal the password after you come back. And Inga Christofferson says, are you commentators going to be at EPT Copenhagen?
What?
I'm in.
Do you want to break it to Inga or shall I?
I already booked my ticket.
Joe, have you looked at the schedule?
No?
EPT
Inga,
Copenhagen is no more.
There is no EPT Copenhagen.
What?
Oh, no.
I booked this non-refundable ticket, guys. Hey, man, I'll come hang out with you in Copenhagen then, because I'm going anyway.
Sorry, Inga, but there are 3 legs left on this season of the tour. We're going to be in London in March, Berlin in April, Monaco in May, but there is no Copenhagen leg of the tour this season.
I was never a big fan of Copenhagen, put it that way. I mean, I'm quite glad to see it gone from the schedule.
Okay, just insult the ladies' home city, why don't you? Thank you, Dominic.
No,
Wait, that was a
no.
lady? I'm definitely going then. Inga. Some of these European names get me sometimes.
By the way, Liv Burry is standing by to replace Dominic Nitcher as our guest commentator, so if you've got questions for Liv, you should email nuts@pokerstars.tv or tweet using the hashtag EPTLive. Alex has just emailed to say thank you for the great job you've done this week. It's an amazing show that you've been putting on every day, day after day. Hope this will continue for a long, long time. P.S. Special Agent Frank Calfon doesn't get headaches, he gives them.
He gives headaches to international criminals and his bosses.
And his opponents at the tables.
Dixie says, you haven't sung the Calfon theme song yet, have you? I've only just woken up.
Ooh, guess you blew it, Dixie.
Lucky.
Oh my god.
You tell people we're going to be here at 12 noon Central European time, and if they're late, then they have to suffer the consequences.
9-3 off. There's nothing you can do.
5 players remaining. Everyone now guaranteed 165,000 euros. The winner will receive 770,000. And a reminder to those of you who are regulars to EPT Live and have noticed some deals being done at recent final tables, French gaming law prohibits any kind of deal making, so they will receive the advertised sums for their respective finishes.
Frank Calfon plays by his own set of rules. That and French gaming law.
By the way, Rudolitz has extended his chip lead now. He's got over 8 million. Walid Bouhabib, the second biggest stack, was 6.5 million. In a few minutes, we're going to give you guys the option of which final table you want to watch. Whether you want to watch this thing through to its conclusion, which you do, or whether you want to watch the high roller final table instead.
Which you don't, right? No, seriously, I think you should definitely just pick this table. I mean, right now there's not a whole lot of flops going on, but as soon as we get rid of some short stakes here and there, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Rudolitz and Bouhabib play their big stacks, you know. If they go at each other, that could make for quite a lot of interesting hands. And yeah, no, I'm very excited to see how this continues.
Now, you have to explain yourself now, Dominic, because Lasser's on Twitter saying, why don't you like Copenhagen? I'm assuming that you mean the actual tournament. Do you have any problems with the city?
No problems with the city, however. The thing is, I think it was in February last time, or March. It was just way too cold. Yeah, that's the main problem. It's also really just quite expensive, and there's not a whole lot of going on at this time of the year. So basically, it was just kind of boring. Although last year we all did go to Noma, which is like the #1 ranked restaurant in the entire world. So we
really?
Yes, we did have some fun there. It was quite amazing.
How much damage did you guys do at Noma?
It's like 500 a head. 500 euros a head. It was because we were with Melanie Weissner and she insisted on ordering champagne.
That will add to the bottom line.
We'll blame her for that one. But no, it was an experience.
Did you CCR it?
No, we all bought out. Yeah, no we didn't. No ants, no. We had quite a whole lot of weird stuff.
The #1 restaurant in the world serves bugs.
I mean, it was an experience, you know. I would go back to Copenhagen just to eat at a restaurant again. But the problem with EPT Copenhagen was it was just too small, and you know, it's just too small. It didn't get a whole lot of runners, and therefore they decided to get rid of EPT Copenhagen and focus on their bigger stops, and just put quality over quantity, which I think is a great decision for the EPT. So
Castellano raised under the gun, gets called by Calfon on the button.
Playing a 14 big blind stack. Yeah, see, that's people just like to see flops.
Now, you be careful what you say about Calfon, Dominic, because you've got to go out there again.
He's putting on his sunglasses. I don't know what that means. He's just putting on his sunglasses.
He kisses the devil goodbye.
Cassignon has bet 275.
I mean, surely if he has a calling range pre-flop, you know, this board just gotta smack it. You know, if he's calling there, he has to have a hand like King Queen, King Jack, Queen Jack, like a whole bunch of broadways. He's not calling with a small pair, or you shouldn't. I mean, quite frankly, you shouldn't be calling with any of these hands. But I guess if you're calling there, it should mostly be broadways. Maybe he does have Ace Jack and just doesn't know what to do.
What do you do with Ace Jack? Just fold?
Don't call pre-flop. It's just one of these things where you just don't want to call pre-flop. You're just too shallow, and you just even if you had a board like this where the obvious answer is if you have Ace Jack, you should just go all in, because really you just have equity against everything, and you have a gut shot, you have the best overcard in the entire deck, and basically you hit a pretty decent flop for your hand. So really you shouldn't fold, given how much money is in the pot already, you know. I don't really know. We have an all-in and a call over here.
Calphon is all in.
Calphon has king-queen, right? That's
Yes.
And spades.
And
What the?
spades. Come on, Calphon.
That is a slow roll if I've ever seen one.
Aces! Oh my god.
Oh my god, Calphon's behind.
Now he's gonna get there.
He needs a king. He needs a queen. He needs a spade.
Just one spade.
Do it for the international secret agent community. I've never said this before, but one time!
For justice.
The turn. Is the king! Two pair for Calphon.
Castellon can still hit an ace, a 10, or a 3.
Oh,
it's a 10!
Oh, brutal counterfeit on the river.
Special Agent Frank Calphon gets rivered. But the good news is, we can now get him transported by helicopter to Marseille and get those pesky drug barons sorted.
Expect that rope ladder to drop down any second. Out in 5th place, taking home 165,000 euros, which of course is going to be used to help those displaced families that have been affected by the human trafficking ring.
Frank Calphon, thank you for providing us with so much entertainment over the last few days.
Calphon, Calphon.
A huge round of applause for the local hero, the international hero. Calphon is gone. Well, that might change things now.
Well, I mean, it definitely is, because now...
Well, what I mean, Dominic, is not about the table dynamic, but in terms of where people want to go as far as our coverage is concerned, yeah? Because we've got 4 players here at the final table of the main event, but of course there's also the high roller final table taking place. So what do you want to do? Do you want to stick with this tournament? In which case, tweet the hashtag ME to @PokerStarsEPT. So please let me make this clear. You must direct your tweets at PokerStarsEPT, including the hashtag ME. Now you're going to have only 15 minutes to vote on this. We're going to close the polls at 20 minutes past 2 Central European time. So hashtag ME if you want the main event, hashtag HR for the high roller if you want to watch these 6 guys. The vote will conclude in just over 10 minutes time. Hashtag HR, hashtag ME to @PokerStarsEPT. And let me remind you that Calphon is gone. We're not going to have the theme, we're going to have a moment's silence.
Rudolitz raising under the gun. Castellon defending his big blind.
And this really just is quite an awkward ICM situation for pretty much everyone. I mean, it's good for Rudolitz, but it's pretty weird for Bu Habib and Castellon, as in there's a 20 big blind stack there, and you know, he's just so short that like everyone basically has to wait for him to bust. And I'm thinking Rudolitz is just going to take advantage of that right now.
Stories checking out so far about Rudolitz taking advantage. Check, check on the flop.
I mean, that's quite a good board for Rudolitz to check back on, you know. And it kind of does hit Castellon, as in Castellon likes to call a lot of middle suited connectors and stuff, especially from the big blind. So I'm not surprised to see him check back that flop. Also, I think Rudolitz is just most likely gonna, you know, he's not gonna bet if he has an 8 or something, because he figures to be ahead. If he has like pocket 9s, he's gonna bet that. I'm pretty sure he would check back like 7s or something. He wouldn't play a flush draw that way. He'd always bet a flush draw on the flop. So my guess is that he's betting an 8 here, quite possibly like Ace 8, King 8 suited type hand, maybe Queen 8, maybe Jack 8. You know, those would be good bets. I'm not sure if he would bet a hand like 8-9 here or like 8-7 because his kicker is just too weak. But you know, just I mean, like especially against Castagnon, it's been quite likely to just pay off bets in these situations. I think Castagnon is a little bit too much of a calling station here, and I think Rudolitz just has the best hand like all the time. Like he's not bluffing with this line. I'd be very surprised to see him.
Well, Rulitz just knows that he's very likely to get looked up with, say,
Yeah, that's why I said
a
he's not.
4, 2 5s.
Yeah. Or like a weak 8, basically, or those type of hands. And like especially the way Castagnon played the hand, where he checked twice, then just decides like to check again on the turn and then call. Definitely makes me believe that he has a very weak hand here, like something he kind of tried to get to showdown and just gave up, like an ace high.
Castagnon gives it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a good fold.
Dominic, it's been awesome having you with us over the course of the last few days. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We'll see you again, hopefully, in London. Dominic Nitscher joining us as a guest commentator on EPT Live. Liv Boeree standing by in the wings. And Joe, do you think at the end of the level we should give the fans what they want, a final performance of the Calphon theme?
Yeah, I'll do it one more time. I'm
okay.
in. I'm
So
in.
there's
I'm coming out of retirement.
There's 18 minutes left on the level, and I promise you now that just before we go on a break at the end of that level, we will give you one final performance in honour of Special Agent Frank Calphon, who has departed.
Fallen in the line of duty.
In 5th place. Yeah, we are down to 4 already. And many people on Twitter absolutely devastated that Calphon has gone. But the good news
They
is...
shouldn't be. That means he's back out on the streets protecting you.
I was going to say, I have a graph in front of me of the crime rate in France, and already we're seeing a steep drop. A reminder that we are currently running a poll. We're asking you to vote for which table we should put on the stage and bring you coverage of. If you want to keep the main event on the stage, use the hashtag ME in your tweet to @PokerStarsEPT. And if you want the high roller, you tag it HR. And right now, the vote is not even close. But I'm not going to say in which direction. Keep those votes coming in. Instructions on how to vote on your screen right now. So we say goodbye to Dominic Nitscher.
Thank you, Dominic.
Yeah, I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but if you need someone for later, I might just come back.
Sweet.
Maybe just like do the heads up or something. Just like give me a call and I'll come over.
Heads up is typically when we do need people, so talk to Dominic on the way out. Make sure we keep his number on speed dial.
Cool. Yep. I'm going to go jump in the 2K Turbo. Have
Good
fun,
for you.
guys. Yeah.
We will do. Thank you very much, Dominic Nitscher.
Pretty sure I'll see you later.
All right,
Yeah,
good luck,
have
man.
Fun. Yeah, have fun.
Thank
Okay.
you to everyone who sent in questions for Dominic. And remember, you can now send in your questions for Liv Boeree. Tag your tweet to EPT Live. Email nuts@pokerstars.tv. We're about to bring our next guest in here as we continue our vote to stick with the excellent main event final table. Tweet hashtag ME to @PokerStarsEPT. Or if you would prefer us to move over to the High Roller Tournament, where we believe 6 players still remain, tag HR to @PokerStarsEPT.
Let me tell you, I sometimes wonder why Liv and Kevin are together. I no longer wonder. Kevin McPhee is giving me a rip-roaring massage right now. Can you feel that tension?
Pause longer between rip-roaring and saying massage.
Rip-roaring.
Now, do you want me to go above the waist now?
Oh, come on, man. Don't show the seams. Let's not peel back the curtain that much.
We have got a hand here, guys.
All right.
Walid Bouhabib is raised under the gun. Castagnon has 3-bet. And there is a fold. And Castagnon has done a nice job of getting back into this game and getting his stack back up above the 6 million mark.
He knew right where the knots were. He just found it. Very sensual.
He's very good at
He's in
finding the
tune.
knots.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is the voice of Liv Boeree back in the booth.
Hello, everyone! Lady Poker here! Send in your tweets! Hashtag EPT! Which, by the way, is my favorite drink! Tea! Sorry, too many Marlboros!
I do not smoke, for the record. How dare you? How very
Lady
dare
Poker
you.
does not smoke.
No.
Lady Poker is no smoker.
So, yeah, 4 people left. Exciting stuff.
Absolutely. Next place, guaranteed 215,000 euros. Rulitz makes it 200K to go from the button. Boo Habib looks like he's going to defend from the big blind.
I've seen that guy around all week, the guy with the green hat, because I kept thinking it was Kevin, because Kevin has that exact hat. And he's also a tall man.
Big guy in green hat. Always one of them at a final table.
Yeah.
Rudolitz, McPhee. King, Queen, 2 diamonds. There you go. If you want to hear things, you want to put those little headphones on there. Check, check on the flop.
Thought I felt a little disconnected from the action. Couldn't figure it out.
Boo Habib checks again. Rudolitz maybe playing a little more cautiously against Boo Habib. Boo Habib second in chips. This time Boo Habib leads out. Rudolitz has countered out the call. Makes the call. We're going to see a river. Nine of clubs on the river. That running flush draw comes in.
I mean, it's perfectly possible to put Boo Habib on, you know, on some kind of club draw 1. It's not anymore.
Yeah,
Definitely doesn't have clubs now.
It's way too easy for Rudolitz to check behind. He'd never get value out of a flush draw that way. Top pair for Boo Habib. Defends with the suited King 6. Top pair is good.
No, yeah. I wonder what was happening.
Just
Chips
5
going the
minutes,
wrong way.
Just 5 minutes left to vote, by the way.
Yeah, the
We,
votes are
for
coming
some
in.
reason, are giving you the option of switching to the high roller final table.
And the votes coming in thick and fast. So if you want to stick with the main event, hashtag ME to @PokerStars EPT. If you want to switch to the high roller, hashtag HR to @PokerStars EPT.
And while you're at it, block the account EPT Live, because that's not us. At EPT Live, not affiliated with us.
Someone's created one. Are they trolling?
I think it's one of those old spammy flip-floppy deals
Oh,
where they're like sort of tweeting the same stuff we're tweeting.
that's just annoying. I just don't really understand what they gain from it either.
Oh, well, they sell it.
Oh,
They build up a bunch of followers, sell it off, switch it to something like penis enlargement pills,
gotcha.
which, by the way, don't work. I mean, I've heard they don't. They don't work.
Do you know what? He was actually relatively under control until you arrived.
I know, I just bring out the worst, don't I?
What am I going to do, flirt with Dominic? He does have long hair, but...
He's got the young German new ball thing going for him.
Oh my god,
You
as
like
if this
that?
could get any worse.
Lady Poker, everybody. Axe is folding around the Boo Habib in the small blind.
What are the blinds at now? 51.
5,100. 10K ante. Boo Habib completed the small blind. Cassio raises to 300,000. Boo Habib lets it go.
I mean, it's fairly safe to say he's got a very sub-premium hand. I'm surprised he's dwelling up for that long. Has, would you say Remy's been running over the table? Or who's been the most active player?
Well,
Remy tried to run over the table by making a very loose call on the river after basically calling 3 streets. Heroed with a pair of 5s. He was up against top set, unfortunately.
he obviously came into today as the chip leader, and he was a big stack yesterday as well, second in chips at the start of day 5. But he's down at the moment to 6 million. He's third on the leaderboard right now.
And basically, he sort of built that huge stack. Came in today as the chip leader by like making a bunch of huge calls yesterday. What was he? Busted 11 people, they said, or
8 out of 15,
8 out of-
including the last 5.
Wow.
And so, you know, he was just running really hot and sort of couldn't go wrong, even when he made sort of bad calls yesterday when he he raised and got shoved on by Glenn Cymbaluk, who had 2 9s. He called with a 7, binked the ace. So he was just
I think I heard about that. He Remy opens early and then what's his name of the other
Glenn
one?
Cymbaluk.
Yeah, Cymbaluk. Yeah, I mean it was it like a 15 BB shove? 16?
Yeah, it was it was a hand he probably could have gotten away from.
Yeah, no, definitely, it's definitely a fold.
And
because Cymbaluk's just he's someone who knows what he should be shoving.
Right. And a7 is just never going to be ahead.
Never.
And he did hit that hand, and so I think he kind of was. Actually, I really like the way Dominic put it. He's winner's tilt. And was just kind of in too many hands, and he got 3-bet by Rudolitz pre-flop.
A little too much momentum.
Yeah, exactly. And, came queen high, called the bet on the flop, called the bet on the turn, called the shove on the river, and it was just a spot where Rudolitz is never going to be bluffing, and just looked him up. After over 5 minutes of tank time, I actually looked him up with 2 5s, and that was the biggest hand we've seen.
Yeah, after about 40 hands, though, he lost 50% of the table, down to the final 4. Enrico Rudolitz from Germany, Robert Romeo from Belgium, Walid Bouhabib from Lebanon, and Remy Castagnon, the last remaining Frenchman. 3-way to this flop. Bouhabib's raise called in 2 spots by Rudolitz and Romeo in the blinds. And that flop is 10-5-7. By the way, voting has now closed in our which table are we going to have on stage poll. Find out after the break which table you're going to be watching.
Deuce on the turn, puts a flush draw out there.
I'm going to expect Rudolitz to just fire at this now. There was no interest expressed, and the deuce changes absolutely nothing. If he does get called, he's going to have to double barrel. It's a tough spot for Romeo if he sat here with something like 8-7, 6-7. He knows full well he's got chances are the best hand. Safe to rule out Bouhabib having anything really at all.
Bouhabib elected to check back the flop.
The trouble is that Romeo's got him still to act, and he knows there's a very good chance Rudolitz is going to fire river. Almost any river.
No, Bouhabib was the original raiser. He did not continue the flop, so you wouldn't expect him to really have something like 8s or 9s, like a pair and a gut shot.
I mean, so he could easily have, sort of king queen, king jack type.
That's a raise.
Or a monster.
Yeah, slightly unexpected.
Weird to slow play the flop. Was fairly dry.
Yeah.
He makes it 650,000.
Maybe he flopped so huge that he just thought he couldn't get any action at all on a dry board like that.
I mean, that's the most likely looking scenario. I mean, you've been watching him, is he the sort of player, I don't think he's the sort of player that'd be doing many post-flop squeezes and things like that.
No, this would be, if he's just messing around here, I'd be pretty surprised.
I mean, it's a great spot. That's the thing. It's actually a really, really great spot to do a squeeze here.
I mean, I think at worst, maybe
if you do have just a complete airball.
Maybe he picks up hearts. I think at worst, it's just a semi-bluff.
I think hearts he's more likely just to call now. I mean, he'll be getting a really good price. Well, not a really good price, but a reasonable enough price. To call. He
doesn't seem like the type that's really recognizing spots. He's been playing very solid, that's for sure.
Which makes me feel like, I mean, he's probably got.
It's a pretty credible raise.
Yeah. Rudolitz is out,
and I mean, I don't think Bouhabib, he's never got ace-10 because he would have bet that, and he would never do this on the turn either.
If Romeo has the kind of hand we are sort of speculating on, I think it's pretty safe for him. to say bye-bye at this point. Romeo was in the big blinds. Possibly he's got some kind of pair and a gut shot.
By the way, those of you getting frustrated about not hearing the Calphon theme, 4 minutes time, guys. Wait till we get to the end of the level. We've got a hand going on here.
Is a pair and a gut shot even possible? It might be.
Don't shove, it'll be suicide.
Right, we got 24 players. Once again, we're going to make 20 spots in this tournament.
Romeo's not the type that's been shoving at all, ever.
I mean, it's for the dwell up he's doing. He's probably got some kind of. He's probably got like Jack 10, Queen 10, something like that. You know, peeled out the big blind. I think we can rule out middle pair gut shot type things now.
So Romeo calls.
Even though actually against the perceived range of Boo Habib, that makes no difference whether you have that. Boo Habib's either got it all or nothing.
Queen on the river. Romeo only has 1.2 million behind.
2.2 in the middle. He checks. Boo Habib is probably almost always. Yeah, he says all in.
He's got a set of 7s or 5s or. Ten's probably less likely considering chances are Romeo's got a 10.
It's going to cost you everything you've got, Robert.
I mean, Robert probably shouldn't have been calling the turn. If he liked his hand, he should have been getting it in. He's just always going to be in this spot on the river.
Good fold.
Good fold, but one street too late at least.
Leaves himself just 12 big blinds. And he won't have 12 big blinds for long either. Just 2 minutes left on the clock. 2 minutes left on this level before the blinds go up. What I presume will be 61-20. Boo Habib, the new chip leader at the final table, with more than 8 million. Rudelitz, 7.7 million. And this is Robbo Romeo's journey to the final table. Came back into day 2 with around 30,000, around his starting stack. Finished in the top 30 at the end of day 2, but was a short stack coming into day 4. Middle of the pack coming into play yesterday. And one of the shorter stacks coming into the final table.
It's a really good way of seeing just the fluctuations that can happen throughout a tournament, and it can be a great lesson just to, it's very easy when you go and lose 3/4 of your stack and you're down to, the very bottom of the field to just essentially give up and tilt it off in the next few hands.
It's a way more common story than someone going wire to wire, that's
right,
for sure.
Exactly. I mean, it's a really good example. I mean, the fact that he went sort of from very sort of bottom middle of the pack to very strong to incredibly, 49th out of 51st, and now here he is at the final table.
By the way, Pep asked on Twitter, Calphon can still rebuy, right? Alas, no, not even Special Agent Frank Calphon can rebuy. And then we got Shark Crumble says, now that Calphon is out, I'm cheering for Kevin the Teenager. I'm assuming he means Enrico Rudelitz.
And this hand kind of bizarre already. Castellon raised to 200,000. Just a call from Romeo in the small blind.
Not shocking.
Checks around on the flop.
A reminder that this will be the last hand of the level. We're about to go on break, but before we go on break, Calphon fans, you're going to hear the Calphon theme.
I just can't even fathom what kinds of hands you could call with that you can't shove with. Like, it's baffling.
Action checked to Castagnon on the turn, and he bets 375,000. Romeo folds, and Boo Habib will fold. So Castagnon wins the last hand of the level. The players are going on a break, but yes, during this level, we did lose Special Agent Frank Calphon from the tournament. He will return in Calphon 7. And to mark his departure and the fact that he has so much support around the world, we bring you one final performance.
This is it, the last time.
Of the theme from Calphon. Here we go. 52 cards and a loaded gun.
Calphon, Calphon.
Slow rolling crooks got nowhere to run.
Calphon, Calphon.
Taking all the pups to Value Town.
Calphon, Calphon.
He's the grizzled cop with a triple crown.
Calphon, Calphon.
Running down villains straight to the river.
Calphon, Calphon.
When he shows you the nuts, it'll make you shiver.
Calphon, Calphon.
He knows when to shove and he knows when to love. Calphon.
I'm leaving.
See you, Liv.
Our live coverage of EPT Deauville continues after the break. We'll find out which table won the viewers' vote. This is PokerStars.tv. Welcome back to Deauville and the PokerStars.net European Poker Tour, and congratulations for voting correctly. We're going to stick with the final table of the main event. The vote was 70-30 in favour of the main event final table, which is now four-handed. And look! Did you see what was on the table there, Joe?
Plaques.
The 100k plaques are now in play as the blinds go up to 60,000, 120,000 with a 10k ante. These are the four remaining players. Walid Bouhabib out in front with 68 big blinds. Robert Romeo bringing up the rear with just 8 big blinds.
Yeah, when we say these are the four remaining players, one of them isn't likely to be remaining for very long. Of course, it's poker and anything happen, but I can't guarantee he will be all in soon. We are four-handed. Even if he folds every single hand, he's going to be all in 2 orbits. So, yikes.
Fourth place pays 215,000 euros. Third place, 275,000. 475k for the runner-up. 770,000 euros to the winner of the EPT Deauville main event. And by the way, we'd like to give a shout-out to our friends and colleagues at the PokerStars blog. And I want to really salute the guys for coming up with an awesome idea over breakfast. The EPT quote board. Little bits and pieces that have been heard from the tournament floor and on EPT Live over the last few days. And I'm pleased to say that they have included the full lyrics to the Calphon theme song.
And Frank from Poker News has just posted a sound clip of us singing, and I've retweeted that. So check out my Twitter @Stapes, or you can follow Frank from Poker News.
That definitely deserves a retweet from me as well. So very shortly, we're going to be rejoined in the booth by Liv Barry from Team PokerStars Pro when she comes back from the break. You know what poker players are. Punctuality is not really something they're renowned for.
Not always the best sense of time.
So you can continue sending in your questions for Liv and your general questions, comments and observations about the play at the final table. Nuts at PokerStars.tv for your emails. Tweet using the hashtag EPTLive.
Limit London's written in to say, ha ha ha, coffee on the screen when you guys were singing the Calphon theme. I love you guys.
Yeah, thank you for all your praise for the Calphon theme, and thank you for all your criticisms as well. Don't worry, no more singing today. Let's get back to the action. Four-handed at this final table.
I'm also about to retweet a photo that one of our biggest fans did of, quote, the caption is, "They live forever, fighting crime in the land of the hill people, heroes," and it has Ghost Calphon and Ghost Aznar of the hill people still sitting at the table.
So the raise is from Rudelitz. Under the gun, he makes it 240,000.
Don't worry, Olivia. You didn't miss much. Sorry. That's all right. Things happen. We covered for you. Oh, you gotta go hang with. You gotta go hang with the cool kids. What's the pain game? It looks like.
No, I can't really explain it very well. But this is a new open face Chinese for sure.
Is that a scar on your hand that you're showing me?
No.
Oh.
Well, I have a scar on my hand,
But that
it's
has
not.
nothing to do with the game.
No.
Oh, I thought you were playing Bloody Knuckles out there or
Oh,
something.
no. There's no violence.
Okay, good.
Did you have a nice break?
It was lovely. We missed you. I did.
I was in the toilet.
Thanks for that.
I was just sitting here waiting for you. 9 Deuce 8, 2 clubs. Booba Beebs checked. Rudolitz continues. And these two guys are just like, oh, do we have to keep playing pots until Romeo busts? I mean, come on.
Liv, I hope you're as excited as we are to see the plaques at the tables.
Oh, yes. So they've just come in?
Yep, the 100k plaques are now being used.
Wow.
I can't think of one instance in my life where I will ever be allowed to touch one of those. 5 of clubs on the turn. 1.1 million in the middle.
More than Romeo's stack.
One last club on the river. It just goes. Looks like no action has happened.
Yeah, I went check on turn.
Habib looking back at his hand.
How big is my club? Count to 7 before betting the ace. Here we go. It's plaque time.
Looks like he's going for about
725.
pretty hefty bet. What are you thinking? Ace 9 with the ace of clubs?
I think that it's pretty tough to make this bet without the ace of clubs, first to act.
I think you can, you can definitely do this with the king of clubs. I don't know if he would bet as much, even though he should. It doesn't make any difference, but just psychologically people will just go, it's not the absolute nuts, I'm going to bet a little less. Must feel so epic picking those things
Oh,
up.
boy.
Wow.
A raise from Rudolitz.
Rudolitz off.
That's a raise to 2 million, right?
Yeah.
Now, he obviously agrees with you, Liv. That Boo Habib can make this bet without the ace of clubs.
Well, it might be easier for him to agree with that if, in fact, Rudolitz has the ace of clubs in his hand.
Certainly.
I mean, I'm not... You've been watching these guys more than me. Is Rudolitz capable of making this sort of sick raise with nothing?
He is capable of it, but most of the time that we've seen him committing massive amount of chips, he's had it.
Yeah.
But he strikes me as the kind of player who could easily make this move without having it.
I think it's more about
very gutsy.
knowing
It's
that.
a huge amount of his stack.
I think it's more about knowing that Boo Habib isn't the kind of player to make really thin calls or just crazy raises back.
Liv, if you're Boo Habib and you were value betting the king or queen of clubs here, how do you respond to this raise?
Hate my life.
I mean, that's kind of why I was saying it's
so-
tough to make that
it's-
bet without the ace of clubs. Like, isn't it better
The thing is that
just to
the
check
trouble
and
is
let him bet?
the fact that Rudolitz checked back the turn would make me more suspicious, because he would strike me more as a sort of player to
Bet the ace of clubs.
to bet just if he just had the naked ace of clubs, unless of course Rudolitz did have something, perhaps like ace 8, ace 5, something like that with the ace of clubs. I guess he could check it back, but even then, I expect he would bet. So it's pretty hard.
Habib all in.
Wow.
Oh, look at Rudolitz.
Well, the other thing we could be facing is obviously the borders paired. Boo Habib could easily have 5s or 8s, or 9s. I would.
Does it go check on the turn with either one of these
Yeah,
guys
actually,
having
yeah.
a
Well, no,
set?
but he. Well, no, I mean, obviously, Rudolitz doesn't have a set. Boo Habib, he could well just check to Rudolitz, expecting him to bet again.
What if someone's got the 6-7 of clubs?
Well, that'd be pretty sick.
Let's have a Casino Royale-esque full house or quad. That's it. Quad deuces against the straight flush. We've got plaques on the table. We might as well have a ridiculous hand like that.
A lot of tanking for quads versus straight flush.
Well, I think we could be in the case that Rudolitz now does have the ace of clubs himself, and he's just like, oh my god, run into a full house. That's the only thing I can think of he's tanking this much with, because we just know Boo Habib is never. It's almost 0%. He's doing this light. In fact, it is 0%, right?
Well, certainly
You've been
not
watching
light.
him.
I don't know if it's a guarantee he has the ace of clubs.
Right, he's never 3-betting the river with the king of clubs, unless he's
You
an
think-
absolute.
You think never?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would be atrocious play if he did. Absolutely atrocious. So, on a paired board with the second nut flush on a 4-card, on a 4 to a flush board. He's never doing it with the king of clubs.
Just
Rudolitz
well,
folds.
we will never know.
And Boo Habib is now going to be the monster chip leader at this final table. He has more than 10 million. He has nearly 11 million. And Rudolitz down to 5. Castagnon now second on the leaderboard by virtue of that hand. And meanwhile, we've still got Robert Romeo bringing up the lead with his 8 big blind stack.
And that was just a massive chip hemorrhage for Rudolitz. Goes from chip leader to third in chips.
Huge action coming back from the break. And just to recap, for those of you just joining us, this is the final table of the main event in Deauville. Just before the break, we did give you the option of voting for coverage from the high roller final table, but you voted by a 7-3 majority to stick with our 4-handed main event final table. Bobby on Twitter. Hans, Bobby. He says, does anyone know the EPT Life free roll password? Yes, we do. And we'll reveal it a bit later on.
Why don't you just tweet a picture of your soup again
Thanks, Liv.
and give it out to everybody in advance? Or some another inane object. Mundane object, not inane.
Yeah, a little inane.
I like to think that I learn from my mistakes.
Let's see what people out there think about that last hand.
Well, a couple of people believe that Habib actually showed his hand at the end.
Really?
I think he mucked it.
Yeah, it looked like he mucked it to me.
And the reason I know that is because we've got Gemma dealing the table, and I guarantee you that if Habib had shown his cards, she would have made sure they were displayed in the centre of the table for all 4 players to see, and of course for our camera as well. Gemma don't make mistakes. So Castagnon's raised to 300,000, called by Rudolitz. It's a blind-on-blind confrontation, a Jack 10-6 flop with 2 diamonds. Castagnon continues for 450,000. Greg tweets to say, I tuned in quickly to see what's going on and ran into an absolute sick hand, and I need to go in 5 minutes. Greg, download the mobile app.
Yeah.
Watch us on the go.
Castellon calls. Excuse me, Rudolitz calls.
Board pairs on the turn. Castagnon betting again. That's $1 million. Craig Davison asking, does Habib now have all the plaques in play? Rudolitz has still got a few. Castagnon's got some as well, but yeah, he's got most of them.
If I was Romeo, I'd want to try and change up as much of my stack into plaques. Just
Just so you can get your
just
hands
so,
on
just
a
so
couple.
you can, yeah. It would suck to bust at this stage and never get to actually have any.
We've got another huge pot here, by the way.
Yeah.
Rudolitz
Wow.
less than a pot-sized bet left behind.
Of course, the last big confrontation between these two players saw
Wow,
Castagnon
so-
give up the chip lead to Rudolitz, and now a jack on the river, a jack 6-6-10 board.
I really feel like, you know, anything is possible for these guys connecting with this board.
And now Castagnon slows down, he checks.
I feel like a 6 is totally conceivable. A jack is totally conceivable.
A
You know,
10.
blind on blind. Yeah, I mean,
Very happy to. Oh,
wow. Flops a set of 10s.
What a horrible river.
Yeah, what a
What
gross
dirty
river.
That's really action killing.
So Castagnon wins that huge pot.
Another huge dent to Rudolitz.
And Rudolitz has lost 6 million over the last two hands.
2 hands which have seen him become the second shortest stack at the table. 3.4 million he's playing now. Boo Habib, the chip leader, with nearly 11 million. Castagnon back over the 8 million mark. Robo Romeo is now down to 7 big blinds.
I mean, at this rate, he's going to ladder up above Rudolitz. One more hand like that, and he's out of here. I guess that river card might have been good for Rudolitz. Castagnon couldn't bet it. Habib folds. Castagnon on the button. Looks like he's coming in for a raise.
Keeping up the pressure. And putting the pressure on the big blind, the short stack, Robo Romeo.
Bram asks, how much value do the blue square chips have? Those are
Oh, he moves all in, Romeo.
100K.
Moves all in for 885k.
And Castagnon says, I call. So showdown. Looks like pocket deuces for our all-in player. Is it a race or is he dominated? It's a race. Ace-9, the overcards for Castagnon. So Robo Romeo needs those deuces to hold. He's the player at risk here. Are we already going to be three-handed in this tournament? Remember, the action kicked off at noon Central European time. It's now 3 p.m. We've only seen 3 hours of play so far. We've already lost 4 players. Are we about to lose a 5th? Let's see the flop. Deuces still holding. For now.
Nice when you have deuces to not see that board pair right away, too.
Oh.
Oh, boy.
You were saying.
Lots of counterfeit outs now. 10s, 7s, aces, 9s.
Those are the cards he has to fade on the river.
Ooh.
3 is a small card. It's a safe card. The deuces do hold. Robbo Romeo doubles up. And will now have around 15 big blinds.
Woo!
The last remaining Belgian in the tournament.
He's back to a raise fold stack. Not really, but that's how he's been playing.
Pack is asking us to please provide the password for the EPT Live free roll because there are already 300 entrants. That means 300 people have cracked our code. It wasn't me, honest Gov. One thing I do want to say, Pack, is that you're directing your tweet at EPT Live. Once again, as Joe was saying earlier on, that is not an account affiliated with us in any way. If you want your tweet to be running out, all you have to do is use the hashtag EPT Live. At EPT Live, nothing to do with the European Poker Tour or PokerStars.
Someone cracked the password? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. 300 people, in fact.
Well, more than likely like 2, and then they just put it on the interwebs.
That is a distinct possibility. So after the next hand, we will officially reveal the password for that free roll, which kicks off at 7:15 this evening, Central European time.
Well, I suppose it's only fitting, considering the tournament's going fast. Why shouldn't we release the password sooner?
Liam Island says, is there a mega plaque made of diamonds that Habib could swap all the other ones for?
You know the plaques have no actual cash value.
So, hang on a second. When James Bond tips the dealer doesn't actually get a tip?
He gave her a tournament chip.
Here you go, kid. Enjoy this 25K tournament chip. Sell it to Men the Master.
Under the gun raise from Remy Castignon.
Is a 3 of hearts, and we have a winner. Benjamin Juhas from Hungary takes away the trophy and the first prize of the 5th.
And a pass from Romeo.
Congratulations.
Boo Habib completes. Sorry, calls. Under the gun raise.
649 with 2 clubs. Robert Harbottle boasts on Twitter, I cracked it, smiley face.
Well, allow me to be the first to say, well, la di frickin' da.
Did you put out a hint or something?
It's possible. I don't know. I didn't intentionally put out a hint.
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't actually get that far in my paperwork today, and I don't actually know what the password is yet.
Castillo continues. 275. Boo Habib kicks it in.
Yeah, we have actually said that word in conversation. Obviously, we are wrapping things up here in Deauville after today. So where is the next leg of the EPT? It's the capital city of the United Kingdom. It is London. London is the password for today's EPT Live free roll. That's with a lowercase l, London. London, the password that will get you into that tournament starting at 7:15 this evening, Central European time.
Now, I realize it's not like a really tough password to crack, but who is sitting at their computer typing in random words?
I'm going to throw something out there. That with the free roll password, you should get maybe 5 attempts. And if, after the 5th attempt, you still get it wrong, it should lock your PokerStars account for 24 hours.
I think that's.
I
think that's not
little
stiff
draconian.
enough. I think it's not stiff enough.
That's what you often hear, huh?
You think you should?
Is that the new way you say it? That's what you often hear, huh? Isn't it? That's what she said.
Yes, that's what I should have said. Damn.
How about it wipes your hard drive?
Oh, there you go.
That's what she said.
Romeo's limped the button. This is what I'm talking about. Unconventional. Thinking outside the box.
Questionable.
Some say questionable, some say creative.
Here comes some plaques.
That is 85,003 pancakes.
385 total. Castagnon in the big blind.
I think they actually call 10K chips pancakes. 25Ks are flags, right?
Yep.
I think 10Ks are pancakes. Like at Bellagio, the actual casino chips.
Roger on Twitter, and I want to make it clear I'm quoting Roger here. These are not my words. Why would someone crack a password that's been given? Get a life.
I'll say that. Get a life. Romeo calls.
Interesting, yeah.
In position.
I'm not a fan of the play at all with whatever he has. You know, he's instead of taking initiative, taking the lead, and raising pre-flop, he's now at the mercy of the aggression of Boo Habib.
And the ginormous chip stack.
2/3 of the time he's going to miss this flop, and he's just going to now have to fold, having lost 1/5 of his chips.
And some of the other third of the time, he's going to hit something that's going to be the worst hand.
That's also a possibility, yes, Joe.
$415. The bet from Boo Habib.
All in. The bet from Romeo.
The stop and go.
Habib asked for a count. It's roughly 1.4 million. So just over 10 bigs.
I'm trying to figure out what Romeo could have here.
We've been trying to do this all
Is he
day.
the sort of player that would just limp a small pair on the button?
I don't think it's inconceivable that he limp calls with a hand like jacks or queens. Seriously.
Yeah, that's also possible.
I think it's way more likely a small pair. I think that even Romeo, who's reluctant to get his chips in before the flop, would have found a way to get it in there, even if he limped originally.
I mean, sometimes players they want to play tricky. I'm concealing the strength of my hand and so on. We'll try, we'll
looked
attempt
more
to limp and so on. But I think
more
it's extremely
scared than
unlikely.
tricky today, honestly.
Yeah.
And we've seen him do this a bunch of times and just fold. So if
I mean, would he be limping hands? Broadway connectors, that sort of thing.
I don't know, because he's folded so much after doing this. We haven't seen a ton of his hands. We saw him shove with deuces. That's all I know.
Yeah. I mean, he could have something like Queen Jack of Diamonds and so on. That he'd obviously play like this post flop. The question is just what the hell is he limping with? I think it's more likely that he has a small pair. Fives through eights.
Wally Boo Habib folds. Ship the pot to Romeo. Couple of tweets from Real HS. He says, "Who's the lady?" That lady will be Team PokerStars Pro Liv Marie, whose name is displayed on your screen at the moment. He also says, "Guys, you sound so tired and it's only been going for 3 hours. What will happen in 2 hours?" Well, bear in mind, this is day 7 of our live coverage from EPT Deauville.
You should see what these guys look like. I think they sound tired. Joe's rocking back and forth.
We will be doing the same again in London, by the way. Continuous coverage from day 1A right through to the final table, and in Berlin, and in Monaco, by which time we'll both be suffering from a mental breakdown.
Some of us didn't have far to go to begin with. How sad was it, Liv, when you invited me out to have a drink? It was like 11:30. I was like, I can't come out. I'm in bed.
I'm in bed. I'm like, it's 11, Joe. Come on. And then you said something which I can't repeat.
It was especially rude.
Boo Habib opening from the button.
Gets a fold out of Castagnon and Rudlitz.
It kind of felt like summertime when my parents used to make me go to bed when it was still sunlight outside.
Stefan points out Romeo finally got some plaques. Go Belgium!
And also, don't forget, he's from Romania originally, we heard, so... You're Romania!
Yes, just to reiterate, Carla, excellent work you've done. Are you going to do this in every EPT? For the rest of Season 9, we will. As I just mentioned, we got Berlin and Monaco still to come. We got London next month, and we'll be there from day 1A right through to the conclusion of the tournament. Let's get this bad boy home, shall we? We've still got 4 players. Which of them is going to be crowned an EPT champion?
And I think, if we should happen to lose Romeo next, I think things are going to slow down after that.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty deep.
We saw 3- and 4-handed play go very slowly at the PCA. Castagnon raising his button. Romeo gives up the big blind. Ship it to Remy.
So a reminder of the money at stake here at this final table. Everyone now guaranteed 215,000 euros. 275,000 is what third place pays. 475,000 for the runner-up. The winner will get 770,000.
We're going to lose Liv after this hand, and so I wanted to get at least one question in for her. Someone said that... What did you say your favorite band was the other day?
Was a bunch of them. But
I'll remember that this guy in particular
there
was asking about a specific band.
Children of Bodom, maybe? Or
that might have been.
Metallica?
He wanted to know what your favorite album was from Children of Bodom. Bodom.
Hatebreeder.
Hatebreeder. Obviously Hatebreeder. I mean, how do you not say Hatebreeder?
Maybe Follow the Reaper. But
No. It's definitely Hatebreeder.
Of course.
Action's folding around to the blinds.
No, Castagnon raised under the gun, made it 250.
Wow. Cool.
Good job, Joe.
Distracted by him. Liv was looking into my eyes, and yeah. Oh.
We were having a moment.
Okay, and on that bombshell, we say goodbye to Liv Marie from Team PokerStars Pro.
I'm finally warming to Joe after all these years. No, thank you very much for having me, guys. And yeah, I'm off. I'm leaving Deauville now, but it's been a very fun week.
Okay, Olivia, have fun.
Thank you.
Safe journey home, and we'll see you at EPT London.
Yes, see you there.
I'll see you through the binoculars from the tree outside your flat.
Bye-bye.
Our thanks to Liv. Our thanks to every single guest who's come in on EPT Live, by the way, over the last few days. We really appreciate people giving up their time and answering your questions, offering their thoughts on the action they're watching on the screen. If you'd like to be a guest commentator on EPT Live, if you're going to be attending any future EPT event in London, Berlin or Monaco as a player, send your details to nuts@pokerstars.tv and our team will be in touch. We'd love to have you in the booth.
The bar is set high with Lady Poker and Dominic Nietzsche. But I think you kids can come out of the woodwork. I mean, speaking of woodwork, Dazzle-O, right? Daniel Ospina. That kid knows his stuff.
And he was one of the players who emailed us saying, well, I'm going to be playing in Deauville. I'd love to come in and do some guest commentary if things don't work out in the main event. And sure enough, he joined us a couple of times, and it was great to get his insight. So on this hand, the action has been folded to the blinds. Walid Bouhabib in the small. And he's raising. 275,000 total. Remy Castagnon folding his big blind. And I'm not sure if it's too early in the day for lookalikes, Joe, but Lucas has just tweeted, since when did Enrique Iglesias change his name to Remy Castagnon?
All right, we're all reaching at this point. It's fine.
So we've got Kevin the Teenager, a character that Harry Enfield used to play on British TV, sitting in the one seat. Enrico Rudelitz. We've got a vague lookalike for Remy Castagnon. tough to know what Roberto Romeo actually looks like because he's been hiding under that blue hoodie and baseball cap for days.
And Unabomber's already taken, so... You know, Rob writes in, he says, has Roberto Romanello disappeared from Earth? Not seen him on TV for ages. Well, someone's not been paying attention. Because, Rob, if you had been listening last night as we were concluding play and whittling down to the final table, you would have heard Roberto Romanello live here on EPT Live.
Yeah, and just to tell you something, Rob, obviously not every single EPT is televised. The other thing to say is that the TV coverage is a little bit behind. Barcelona, EPT9 Barcelona took place in August and still hasn't appeared on TV yet. When it does, you will see Roberto Romanello in those shows. He also had a very deep run in EPT Prague back in December. Almost defended his title there from 2 years ago, but fell at the final hurdle. So Roberto, as he told us last night, never misses an EPT and frequently goes deep in these tournaments.
Boo Habib raising his button at 250K. 3-bet from the small blind. Rudolitz folds. Action back on Boo Habib. This 3-bet is to 600,000. And these bets are so big that, you know, you can't really, again, because of that gaming law where you have to double the last bet. If you want to, quote-unquote, click it back here, that's 1.2 million. That
wow.
But
you were saying.
Right, and I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's going to happen as a bluff far less often.
Well, this is a pretty solid, chunky 4-bet from Walid Boo Habib.
Boo Habib has Castillon covered. I mean, I'd go so far as to say, like, this is pretty committing already.
I'd agree. 1.5 million. And this is the thing, you know.
This is ICM suicide, by the way.
Castillon can't really now 5-bet fold because he'd have to 5-bet to 3 million, which is most of his stack.
There is no 5-bet folding, and so, you know, you're pretty much just getting it in, which seems ludicrous with Roberto Romeo still in there.
By the way, Rob's frustrated that he missed Roberto on the feed. He says he's a legend. I was playing last night and missed it.
He is a legend. I laughed. I cried. I mean, it was a really great appearance.
Well, Liv Barry may be departing Deauville, but we know that Dominic Nitcher is still in town, and there is a chance that Dominic will come back with us as a guest commentator a bit later on. Depends how he fares in that 2K Turbo. So how's Castillon going to respond here?
I don't know, but Boo Habib looks real excited to get it in.
A reminder that these are the two biggest stacks at the table.
His chest is heaving.
You can see what they started with at the left of your screen. Boo Habib started the hand with 10 million, Castillon with 7.8 million. And he will fold to the 4-bet from Boo Habib.
And I think that's just a huge hand.
The Lebanese player extending his chip lead now, close to 11 million in chips. Castillon down to 7.2 million.
And Rudolitz and Romeo are the two who are in pretty rough shape here. 24 and 21 big blinds, respectively. And I think that's another reason why Castillon can probably pat himself on the back for that fold. I think Boo Habib was huge, but also, you know, just to get it in against the one guy that can bust you in a spot where he looks super strong, I just don't think that's real smart ICM play.
Just very quickly, back to the trivial subject of lookalikes. I did realize as soon as we threw it out there, like, who do Romeo and Boo Habib look like, that when we had the Stapes lookalike competition and everyone just sent in suggestions of anyone else who had a beard, with Walid Boo Habib, it's basically anyone else who's bald.
Right.
So, of course, the obvious one, which Robert's gone for, is Kojak.
Yeah, Telly Savalas, sure.
PV actually thinks that Habib looks like Freddie Deeb's younger brother.
I'm going to go ahead and that one. Rudolitz makes it 275. Small to big.
So we've got the two short stacks tangling now.
And it looks like Romeo is going to just call.
So we've seen the battle of the big stacks. Now it's a tangle of the short stacks. A skirmish of the short stacks.
There we go.
4-5-7 with two spades.
And it's really hard to put these guys on ranges. Rudolitz should probably be raising almost every time, small to big.
6 of spades on the turn. Rudolitz makes a delayed c-bet. Romeo looking back at his hand. Do I have a spade?
I have a spade. Do I have any card? 3 through 8. I know we'll probably do this at the end. Oh, never mind. That is an all-in shove, and Rudolitz has to let it go. And a frustrated exhale from him.
Well, Romeo's got his stack up over 3 million. Rudolitz down to 2.3 million. He is now the low man at the table.
What I was going to say is I know we'll probably cover this later, but I just want to give a quick shout-out to all the people on this live broadcast team working hard behind the scenes, helping us out with the emails, helping the graphics fellas, the guys producing the thing, the men and women, I should say. Thanks to everyone. Everyone's really busting their buns.
The unsung heroes
That's
of
right.
EPT Live. We salute you.
We are literally the sung heroes because we've been singing.
And we don't just salute you. Special Agent Frank Halfon does as well. Adam says, put a beard on Rudolitz, and we have Jason Mercier's twin brother. I didn't see it. Do you see it?
Short answer, no. Long answer, hell no.
By the way, that hand where we saw Wally Bouhabib and Remy Cassignon tangle pre-flop, Ryan says, absurdly good spot for Bouhabib to be light with his 4-bet when you consider the ICM.
I think that's a good point. I just don't know that that's a factor in Bouhabib's mind. Could be. I don't want to, not give him credit where credit's due. But I would agree, it is a good spot.
Let's see what happens here. Castignon's under the gun raise, called by Bouhabib in the big blind. Kieran Scully has suggested a supreme lookalike, which we'll come to after the conclusion of this hand. Oh, look at that. The production team says, thanks for the shout-out, Joe. We're feeling the love.
Wow. It would be great if that had a typo in it.
Well, there was a continuation bet of 325,000. Bouhabib check calling the flop and checking the turn. Queen of clubs on the river. After it went check, check on the turn.
Here's a little trivia gag for maybe the blog team. Waleed Bouhabib, if he wins this thing, will have a rhyming first and last name, right? Waleed Bouhabib?
Oh, as in Waleed rhymes with Habib.
Yeah.
Kind of half rhyme, but yeah, I'm with you.
You've got Roberto Romanello.
Right.
How many, rhyming winners have we had?
Where the first name rhymes with their second name.
Yeah, well, it's like at least a 50% rhyme.
Random, but I like it.
Thank you, James.
Bouhabib checks again. Castignon bets. 1.2 million.
That's Luca, one of our tournament directors. Verifying the bet. Castagnone catch this queen on the river. C-bet the flop, put the brakes on the turn, comes out swinging. B wants to see the pot spread. We know there's 2.5 million in there, including Castagnone's bet. So it's 1.2 million to win 2.5. A little better than 2 to 1. Did you hit that queen? Asks Boo Habib. Boo Habib had something that he felt justified calling the flop with. It might be because of that. Castagnone might think that he can value bet and still get called.
Ask him if he's got ace queen. I don't think he's going to tell you.
I don't think you can call either. Yep.
So Castagnone wins that pot. So I said we'd had an awesome lookalike suggestion. This one comes in from Kieran Scully, and it's a lookalike for Robert Romeo. It says Romeo is Jake Cody in 30 years' time, or Jake Cody after one too many nights out on the town in Leeds.
I don't... Romeo? Robert Romeo? Robert Romeo? Whoever this guy is? Romeo Robert? Jake Cody? I'm sorry.
I think it's the fact it's a guy in a hoodie who's significantly older than Jake Cody. That's the gag.
Well, in that respect, I totally see it.
Okay.
It is a guy in a hoodie.
How about these then? Banger says Habib looks like the DEA agent from Breaking Bad.
Nope.
Alexis says Habib looks like the bad guy in Apocalypse Now. I presume he means Colonel Walter Kurtz, as portrayed by a flabby Marlon Brando.
Nope.
There's a good one from Bart, actually. Noel Gaines, who's now departed the final table. He looked like Jean Gabin. That's pretty good.
Don't know who either of those guys are.
One of them was a player at our final table.
Yeah, what have you done for me lately?
Mr. T says, I'm getting a sort of chunky Brian Eno vibe from Boo Habib. That's good. Now that is good.
Don't know him. Robert Romeo raises 250.
And that gets folds. Your rhyming EPT winners game, Joe.
Yep.
We've got some suggestions here from Darren. Ramsey Jalassi.
Yep, I'll take it.
Davide Katai.
Nope.
They may end in the same letter, but I'm afraid they don't rhyme.
Ramsey Jalassi, though. Sold.
Stuart Ramsey says, great day watching the stream and enjoying the top commentary while playing online poker, and the rugby is on in the background. Bliss. A reminder that if you want to play the EPT Live free roll this evening, you will need the password that gets you into the game. The password is London, which is the next leg of the European Poker Tour. The festival begins at the beginning of March. London is the word you need. London, all lowercase.
Walter says Habib looks like Michael Chiklis' younger brother. Nope.
Raise and take it there for
Do you guys
Enrico Rudlitz.
Do you guys have Mr. Clean in the UK?
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean is you should do a little Google image search. I think that's as good as we're gonna get. But it's just such an easy go-to for a bald guy that I'm hesitant to even say it. But all these terrible.
What's he from?
He's on like a bottle of cleaner.
Oh, I
in
see.
the States.
What?
No, you wrote Mr. Clutch.
No, I didn't write Mr. Clutch. Google changed my search to Mr. Clutch.
Because you are Mr. Clutch.
Okay. Yeah. The white eyebrows and the earring are really scary.
I don't remember him having white eyebrows, but take away the white eyebrows.
Again, it's just like...
It's bald, right? I
mean, we might as well say Larry David.
Guess what? Not everybody looks like somebody. How about that? Romeo wins that pot, gets a walk in the big blind.
Oh, and just to help you out, Joe, because obviously you are now a resident of the United Kingdom, that the alternative product that you'll be looking for on the shelves at the supermarket is Mr. Muscle.
I don't clean, so I won't be looking for anything on the shelves. You know what I do instead of cleaning? I move.
Well, to be fair, I once stayed in your apartment in Los Angeles, and I think your analysis is pretty spot on. Gavin Griffin for yesteryear if you don't like Davide Katai.
I'll take it.
So what do we got? Roberto Romanello, Gavin Griffin, Ramsey Gelassi.
Martin Jakobsen.
He hasn't won an EPT.
Cool.
Wow, wait till rub it in his nose. He's finished second twice.
Ouch, awkward.
Stevie P says, why don't we get some decent commentators?
Huh. Well, we invite you to check out our localized streams.
Yeah, Stevie, if you can speak Mandarin, why not try the live stream at pptv.com? How's your Portuguese? Check out pokerpt.com. If you can speak fluent French, you've got a choice. The French people at PokerStarsLive.fr and the Belgian French people also streaming through PokerStars.tv, along with the Belgian Flemish commentators.
I'd like to see your decent commentator segue like that. Oh, how about Right Said Fred for Boo Habib?
Yeah, now we're talking. I'm a model, you know what I mean. Oh, I did promise there would be no more singing.
I've made no such promise.
Pretty quiet action so far. A lot of walks to the big blind. A lot of raise and take it hands. Robbie reckons that Boo Habib kind of looks like Alfred Hitchcock from the side, that being Alfred Hitchcock wearing sunglasses.
Nope. First stop of every day of live coverage, and we're on to the lookalikes.
Costas asked, why aren't we seeing the players' hole cards? Very simple answer, Costas. This is what we call a light stream. Very few legs of the EPT are actually televised, and it's only the televised events where we have the TV table with the hole card cameras. But we do like to bring you coverage from every leg of the tour, hence we bring you these live streams.
Castellon raising small to big. And he is going to win this pot. Now, it's possible we could see things go on like this for some time. The blinds don't go up again for another 40 minutes. And no one's in the real danger zone right now.
I'm concerned that Kieran hasn't quite grasped the concept of the rhyming names game. Pascal Perot.
Not even close.
Noah Boken.
Noah Boken. All right, I'll do it. That one's real iffy.
Michael Ross says, rhyming EPT winners. What about Kevin McPhee and Liv Barry? Because they're still a thing, right?
And they both won EPTs. Sure. I like thinking outside the box. Kind of like Robert Romeo does sometimes.
Okay, Kieran's come back with one which I think is decent. Moritz Kranich.
Definitely.
Let's pick up the action here. Older to the small blind. Rudlitz makes it 275,000.
Romeo with exactly 20 big blinds to start this hand. Have we ever seen a 3-bet from him? Even the deuces when he shoved, that was an open shove, yeah?
Yeah. Well, this looks like a call. He defends, and we go to the flop. Ace, king, 6 with 2 clubs.
Rudlitz doesn't continue. Romeo immediately comes out firing. Say this bet looks pretty credible. Ho-ho! Rudlitz shoves. Romeo with a decision. Has he got a king? Romeo does have Rudlitz covered. But if he calls and loses, he'll have about 6 big blinds left. It looks like one of those cases where Dominic was talking about before, where when he doesn't bet the flop, it just looks way more strong.
Absolutely, and Romeo folds, and Rudlitz wins that pot. He's obviously got a fan on the rail, applauding as he brings in that pot. It's stacked now up to nearly 3.2 million.
Maybe the fan thinks he's rooting for teenage Kevin.
I'm enjoying this tweet from Ryan. Where's the hole cards? Where's the free roll password? Hole cards, please. How do I vote for a table at EPT Live? Marius, how about Lucien Cohen?
I'll take it.
Another rhyming winner. There have been quite a few.
These aren't, what do they call, perfect rhymes, natural rhymes? I forget what the actual term for it is, but good enough.
So now we're asking for your highlights from the last 7 days. What's been your favourite moment from the last 6.5 days of live tournament coverage here on EPT Live? Let us know by emailing nuts@pokerstars.tv or tweeting using the hashtag EPT Live.
Should I give some suggestions, or do we want people to... I'll tell you what some of my favorite moments were.
Let's let people come up with their own, and
okay.
If they're struggling, then maybe we can jog their memories.
Okay, fine.
Meanwhile, Joanne says, why does Jason Mercier look like Parappa the Rapper on the EPT opening credits?
I think that is very astute. I think he does look like Parappa the Rapper. That is funny.
Yari reckons that Wally Boo Habib looks like Vin Diesel with some extra Christmas weight.
Okay.
By the way, as far as the opening credits are concerned, obviously you've been privileged to sample... That'll be the theme. And I was going to say that you've experienced some of my musical talents, in inverted commas, with the Frank Calfon theme. Some time ago, I actually scripted lyrics to the EPT theme, which Joe is very familiar with because I sing them all the time. But I've yet to give a public performance of the sung version of the EPT theme. So maybe, just maybe, a bit later on in Season 9, maybe when we get to the Grand Final in Monaco, I will let you hear what the EPT theme song sounds like with lyrics.
Boo Habib raises small to big. Take a look at that flop. Queen Jack 10, all diamonds. Who's got the guts to bet this? Boo Habib making a teeny continuation bet, and that is enough. He's going to add to his chip lead.
Up to 10.2 million now. So people suggesting their favourite moments from the last few days. Paul Walsh says it has to be when Fatima crawled under the feature table to see Glenn Simbaluk's boots.
Yes!
Bart's favourite moment is from today, when Castiglione hero called with pocket fives against Rudelitz's top set.
Another great moment.
J.W. Anderson, it has to be, and he says it's an extended moment, the continuing multi-part saga that was Special Agent Frank Halfon.
Also fantastic. All great moments. So too many, really.
A reminder that you will get to relive some of them again for sure. Today and yesterday's coverage will be uploaded to PokerStars.tv when all is said and done. Possibly, maybe, if we're lucky, you'll get some bonus coverage as well uploaded after the event. Matthias says, my favourite moment was Asnar of the Hill people.
We've got a second reason for you guys to start using that Twitter hashtag. And the email box. Coming up, PokerStars live event specialist Neil Johnson. Get your questions in for Neil. Hashtag him EPT Live. Or send the emails to nuts@pokerstars.tv.
Marius and Stuart concur that Asnar of the King people was their highlight of the week. Ted says best moments were Liv's lizard story and the Calphon theme, of course. Thank you for the hours you put in for us. I loved it.
You know, Liv actually shared the end of that lizard story with us that she didn't get to tell on the air, which is the funniest part, is that her lizard needed a hysterectomy. Her lizard was a girl and wasn't a boy at all.
Blonduni says best moment has to be the French slow roll pocket kings, which knocked Elke out of the tournament.
I didn't know lizards could get menopause.
Per Holt says it's got to be...
got it all in there, James. And a call.
And it's been called. So Castellion made it 250,000. Rudolitz shoved for just over 3 million. Snap called by Castellion with jacks. And Rudolitz at risk with just one overcard to those jacks.
And if Rudolitz can catch an ace, this will put a whole new paint job on things.
So here we go. 5 cards to come. There is no ace on that flop.
No ace, no clubs.
Rudolitz looking for an ace or running straight cards. He's going to need to see an ace on the river, or we lose the German player from the tournament, and we're down to 3. No ace, the jacks hold, and Enrico Rudolitz exits in 4th place. He claimed the tournament chip lead early on today in a huge hand against Remy Castignon, who is now back in the lead. Remy Castignon with 11 million in chips. Enrico Rudolitz heading to the cage to collect his 215,000 euros.
Now that 4 wasn't much of a sweat. You may have wondered why I oohed when it turned over, but a lot of times those 4s can look a lot like aces. And that is pretty wild the way things have happened. Castellion starts out the day with a chip lead. No one thought he would ever lose it. Then Rudolitz takes the chip lead. No one thought he would ever lose it. Now it's back in the hands of Castillon. Just shows you how anything can happen.
Could be set for a pretty epic heads-up battle here. I mean, I appreciate that Robert Romeo is still in the tournament. He still has 19 big blinds. We've got two big stacks battling here. Castillon and Bou Habib. By the way, we've been asking you to send in your highlights from the week. We also want your questions for Neil Johnson, who'll be joining us in the next few moments. Neil is the PokerStars live events specialist. As far as highlights are concerned, Johan seems to have nothing but lowlights. He says, on one day you had the same boring table all day, and then you said it would be hole cards on the final table. Epic fail on both. At no point did we promise hole cards on the final table. I made it very clear this is a non-televised event with no hole card cameras. I said there would be hole cards on the final table in Monaco, which is at least 2 months away.
By the way, Johan got a 2-day mute from me the other day because he's being so annoying, and I think he's getting the full-on block. Yep. Bye, Johan.
So that is the voice of Neil Johnson, PokerStars live event specialist. And here we are, Neil, already down to 3 players after less than 4 hours play.
Well, this is kind of what we expected yesterday in regards to how long it played out yesterday. That we came in with a number of short stacks, but it looks like from what I've heard as I've been out there that you guys have had some pretty exciting play throughout the day. Very swingy considering we came in with such a monster chip leader at the start of the day.
Yeah, huge swings, ridiculous.
Romeo raises to 250,000. Castillon, sorry, it was Castillon who raised, I'm sorry. And Wally Bou Habib, who has called in the big blind. And this is one of those strange situations, that strange table dynamic where you've got that guy with a sub-20 big blind stack, Neil, who you kind of expect to bust anytime soon. And therefore, should these guys really be playing massive pots while he's on the verge of elimination?
Well, his answer would be yes. His answer would be by all means, please let's get involved. But as from what I've heard and what I've seen, his 20 big blinds isn't necessarily, that's plenty to come back and play with from what we've seen in Deauville so far this week.
Yes, he does not play a 20 big blind stack like most people play a 20 big blind stack. So Bou Habib check called the flop for 275,000. It went check check on the turn, and it goes check check on the river. And Wally Bou Habib has the winning hand. He has ace high. More of your highlights from the week. Per says it was when Asnar, famously of the Hill people, triumphantly open-mucked kings.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Stefan says the Russo-Riley hand was quite sick and will be a point of discussion for quite some time on the tour.
That's my pick.
Darren said best moment, Russo showing that 5. The worst moment was suffering 14 minutes of posturing to see it.
That was definitely a divisive hand amongst the people watching. As we even talked about on day 3, no one can really find a moment where they actually took too long, but 15 minutes for one hand at effectively level 4 or level 5. That I would say that mine that I saw was the hand that lost Masevich, I believe, a few players before the money bubble. That apparently, I heard later, supposedly James Mitchell folded kings in that hand. Kuhn opened, it got 3-bet, Mitchell 4-bet, and then Masevich
open shove, ace king.
Kuhn overshoves with queens then from the first spot, and Mitchell supposedly said he passed kings later on in that spot. Really interesting hand.
Here we go again. Castillon against Bou Habib. Bou Habib called in the small blind. Castillon checked his option. A 6-6-4 flop with 2 diamonds. And Castillon will bet that flop and Bou Habib will fold. Walter says best moment? Well, Lex really came into his own with his commentary during this event. Hashtag no one else even close.
We've gotten a lot of good feedback on Lex's commentary over the years. Very good analysis from what I understand.
He's got great analysis and also like a really good sense of humor and funny in and of himself. I'm not just talking about that he laughs at our jokes. He's just a funny dude.
I have to admit, I was surprised that the final table took the vote. I saw you guys did a vote earlier at the break between the final table and the high roller final table.
Yes.
Was a bit surprised, but very cool as well. We kind of gotten to see some very interesting hands as this has played out.
Nuno says, I love how you guys have repeated stuff 100 times over the week and still get hammered. Makes me laugh every time. Not really a highlight, but worth it. Yeah, I'm done talking about whole card cameras now.
Yeah, but what's the password to the free roll?
We have revealed that, Neil. It is London.
London!
I have the stock answer now for the question about whole card cameras. What are you talking about? We do have whole card cameras. You can't see them?
I kind of was wondering if that's where you were going to go.
Yeah.
Just respond to everybody. They're there. Check maybe you have a problem with your connection. Let's get all these people to start checking their internet and checking
You just have to open the whole card window.
Oh, nice. Click on the hand history button on the live feed, and all of it's right there.
We'll save that one for London. Button raised from Castignon makes it 250,000.
We can put in one of those kind of trick buzzers, like on the feed, where you click on it to see the hand histories,
and it's a scary ghost.
Exactly, it screams at you from your computer or something. Please click here for hole cards.
Stevie P writes in to say, great commentary, guys. Thanks for the awesome coverage. You're welcome, Stevie.
Castillon raised to 250,000, and Bouhabib calls.
So again, it's these two guys playing a flop, a king 6-3 flop.
One with 2,625,000 is from USA. Please give it up for Timothy Riley.
Another king on the turn.
Sounds like Tim Riley was just eliminated from the high roller. Oh no, they're just announcing.
Yeah, he's in seat 1 for the
heads up.
No. Oh yeah, that is the heads up for the high roller. Because I know Bryn Kenny went out and.
So it's Tim Riley and our old name pronunciation nemesis, Wojtek Ruzitka.
275,000 from Bouhabib and a call from Castillon, so we'll see the river here.
I was thinking of helping you out there, but it was much more fun.
Did I get it?
I was not going to touch that one.
Did I get it?
No.
Ruzitka.
I believe it is Wojtek Ruziczka.
I said that. Booty traps.
The Bouhabib bet 275,000 on the turn. Cassignon called, and the 8 of hearts has come on the river.
Jason Robson asked, what is being covered when the final table concludes? The back of my throat with alcohol.
That looks like about 625. As we've got our plaques in play now.
About time.
It was worth it, though. You can't just throw out plaques all willy-nilly. You got to earn them.
You can't put the plaques in on day 3. Uh-oh, we're reaching for a lot of stacks of red over there from Castillon. 3 stacks, what, 1.5?
Nope, here comes the 4th. Get it out of there.
See, this is why we gave him plaques.
He doesn't want to work the plaques. It's way more intimidating. To bulldozer! 4 stacks of red in there.
That's 2 million total.
Meanwhile, Romeo is over there going, coughing into his hand, call, raise, something.
Well, Christian predicted on Twitter that Romeo will win it. He's going to hang on until heads up and then crush his opponent. You heard it here first.
It's going to be a fold from Bouhabib.
More of your highlights from our EPT Live coverage from Deauville. Roger says, Elke and the soup contest on his birthday.
Right there. There's the heads up of the high roller.
Trophy on the table.
Castillon, 11.75 million Chips in front of him. Oh, guys, there's a spelling error in the crawl there. Favorite has a extra vowel.
Welcome to Europe.
For some reason. Not really sure what's happening there.
We'll get our crack production team on that. Castillon gets a walk in the big blind.
Ryan has a request for you, Neil.
Okay.
On Twitter. Can we please have synchronized breaks for the EPT Live coverage?
So we take a 5-minute break every hour at 5 minutes till.
I think that's what he's asking for.
Well, I think maybe if at least the 15-minute breaks we do take can overlap with those 5-minute breaks that happen on the site.
Good luck with coming up with a tournament structure that fits that one.
I could come up with one that fit that one, but we'd still hit this stage, and whatever hand, you go on break as soon as the hand is completed, that hand would take the entire break, so we'd be out of your sync, your synced break anyway.
How about when they go on break, that literally wherever you are in the hand is paused, and you then resume that hand when you come back from the break? Is that the worst idea ever?
Oh, it's not the worst idea ever.
Oh, great.
I mean, it's on a list, but it's not the worst idea ever. There's a raise from 275 to of 275,000 to Castillon. We're going to pass out of the big there for Romeo. Puts him down. It's under 1.8 now for Romeo. So he's sitting on what? He's dropped under 15 bigs, right, guys?
Yeah, it's like 13, 14. He's been there before.
One of the most interesting ideas we've been kicking around, I was talking to some players about it today, something we're going to look at it for EPT10, is a lot of players said, most players don't like playing 10-handed. And they said, what if...
Too much action.
Exactly. They said, what if we would guarantee on the EPT that day 1A would be 9-handed? We just say if we have 450 seats 9-handed, that's all they get to play on 1A, and everybody else has to play 1B and take your chances. And that's a really interesting. We've been discussing it kind of over the course of the season. We won't make changes till season 10, but it's a very interesting idea.
Is it fair to have half the field play 9-handed and the other half 10-handed?
Everybody can choose whichever day they want to play. It's open to most of the EPTs now start on Sunday, so players who really want to play online Sundays and play all the tournaments on Stars and Tilt on Sunday would, then they would be playing day 1B, but it would again be their choice because unfortunately. As great, wait a second. We've got action here for our short stack player. 250,000 from Castillon. Romeo made the call all the way around.
We also have action in the booth. Jeffrey Hakeem has just stepped in, so get your questions in for Jeffrey.
6 deuce king on the flop. This was 3 ways for 250,000 apiece.
Yeah, as Joe just mentioned, our 8th place finisher in the EPT Deauville main event is going to do a kind of exit interview / commentary stint with us. So questions for Jeffrey should be emailed or tweeted.
Deuce of clubs after a checked around flop. And our short stack Romeo is reaching for his plaques here. 400,000 gets through Bouhabib.
And as you can tell by the fact that he's blinded down to 13 or 14 bigs, he doesn't part with chips very easily.
Looks like Castillon's counting out the call. And he will make the call. We're going to go heads up to the river.
Romeo, barely a pot-sized bet left.
That 4 of clubs on the end couldn't have really changed much of what's happening here, right?
No, Romeo
There's
moves
the all
in.
in. Castillon asks for a count.
He calls.
Castillon
Called.
puts Romeo at risk.
Ace king.
Ace king, and Castillon tries to muck again. He knows he's not allowed to. King 5 was the hand for Castillon.
And that's going to double Romeo up to, about 3.6, 3.7?
I don't know. I have to question that call from Castillon. Is Romeo ever shoving that river with worse than King 5?
Probably not. I mean, he did play ace-king awfully slow, but it's still hard to imagine, with a guy that's played as tight as this, that king 5 is really ever going to be good there.
All right, guys, that was a very interesting hand. I'm going to bring you in some actual analysis instead of me. I'm going to swap over with our 8th place finisher here in Deauville with Jeffrey Hakim. It's been great all week. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you all in London.
Thank you very much, Neil Johnson, PokerStars live event specialist. Another great guest commentator. We've had at numerous points over the course of our 7-day coverage here in Deauville. And as Neil said, we're now going to bring in the man who came into the final table today as the short stack and went out in 8th place. One of the 3 Lebanese players to make the final here in Deauville. We welcome to EPT Live, Jeffrey Hakim. Great to see you, Jeffrey. Thank you very much for coming in.
Jeffrey, congratulations.
Yeah, that's the right word, I think. Congratulations. I like it.
Super deep run. Are you gutted right now? Have you had some time to...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I did everything I could, I feel. The hand played out itself, and I left yesterday feeling a bit down just because I chipped down that last level before the end of the day, and you guys have, I'm sure, been talking about who's left on this table, and it's a bit disappointing to not be in there and battle with these guys.
Well, sure, and everyone was talking about how you kind of were probably the most experienced player at that point in the tournament, and it seemed like a lot of the times you were doing what you were supposed to be doing, you're kind of raising the spots you were supposed to, and then it seemed like, I think it was Boo Habib who just always had a huge hand. Every time you came in for a raise, he was coming over the top of you, and we saw a lot of them. He was showing you a lot of time. It was ace-king, it was ace-king, it was kings, it was ace-queen, and I assume that obviously you didn't have better hands than that in those spots.
Yeah, exactly. He was basically playing honest against me and, not getting out of line. And, Walid, I want to just say for a minute, is a very good friend, great guy. I'm rooting for him, of course, fellow countryman and everything. A family man and a casual player who brings his A game every time, and it's just so impressive for someone who isn't a professional to be playing at this level and kind of, commanding the final table at this point. But yeah, like you said, back to that situation yesterday, he just had it, kind of every time, and he wasn't going to get out of line against me, and we were kind of fortunate enough when we were playing short-handed. At one point, we both had just over 2 million, and 3 other shorter stacks who are kind of playing more ABC, but they just, I just kind of couldn't take advantage of the situation and couldn't maybe pick up any real hands for that one level, and unfortunately chipped down.
Jeffrey, I don't know whether you're aware, but after you left the table, there was a huge hand at the final table between Enrico Rudelitz and Remy Cassignon, which saw a massive change in the chip lead, where Cassignon doubled up Rudelitz. I don't know if you know the details of that one, but it involved Cassignon making a very speculative call, shall we say, on the river.
Speculative is a very kind word to use. Very kind. I mean, listen, I started with Remy yesterday. He got off to a huge start and took out a player who had 1 million in chips, so he jumped up the leaderboard right away, and he was playing solid, I want to say. And then, when I finally got a hold of some chips yesterday, he honestly stayed out of my way also, even though he had direct position on me. And just, accumulated some chips and wasn't doing anything, I want to say, out of the ordinary. And then I see this hand today. And I'm at the loss of words.
His call against Glenn Simbaluk last night to end the night was a little out of line too, I would say.
Are we allowed to use the word atrocious?
Yes, you can say that word if you like.
Between that call yesterday is just, you want the bubble. I'm sure you guys have talked about this before. You want the bubble, the final table bubble, to last as long as possible, because with his stack yesterday, he's just able to chip up without putting too much at risk, and just take command and can raise freely, and everyone's just and you guys saw the stacks yesterday. You had 4 or 5 of us who had under 20 blinds, so we'd have one move left, and you kind of have to have a hand to be able to do anything against a raise of his. So it was kind of like all in or full time, and he can't make a call like that with ace-7 suited. What are you hoping to see? And it's just, he can just chip up without putting without making a call like that. And
Well, we do have some action happening here.
Yeah, I want to come back to that conversation, but let's just pick up the action. Castagnon opened with a raise to 300,000 from the small blind. Romeo called. Castagnon made it 325,000, and Romeo is now raised to 1 million. Castagnon folds. You talk about so many of the players at the final table or the near final table being short stacked, Jeffrey. I think it's fair to say there were a lot of players with those size stacks who weren't playing conventionally. Whether it was an open shoving stack or a reshoving stack, they still seem quite happy to make a standard open or to call a raise.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you guys said, you did see some of that yesterday. Frank confused me. I heard you guys talked about this hand for a bit, where he tanked for about 2 minutes when he was in the big blind with about 10 blinds, and then I'd open the button, and I'm just waiting to flip my hand over where I had queens on the button, and he decided to defend, which of course I didn't expect, and I had a pretty bad flop where it was like ace 10-10, and he checked, and I decided to check behind because I would have hated to obviously bet fold that hand, and I'm sitting, it's ace 10-10 with 2 diamonds, and I have the queen of diamonds, so it's kind of a blocker to any possible flush draws he could have, and he's also the type of player who wasn't going to get out of line. He wasn't going to take a stab at it. I was playing with him all day. He wasn't going to take a stab at it if he
Very
didn't
straightforward player, yep.
Yeah, if he didn't hit on the turn. So.
And it was a king on the turn then?
Exactly, and he just shoved, and I should have folded faster. I was just felt a little disgusted, and that I was gonna lose that pot.
Well, I mean, speaking of disgusted, today when you happened to run ace king into aces, I mean, just what was that feeling when he turned his hand over? Just did your stomach drop? It was just it was gross.
It was gross. I mean, after 6 days, it's just it's brutal. I also looked at him and I could see his breathing pick up and everything, and I automatically hated it. And he's in the 3-hole, right? And he's facing a raise and a shove. And yes, I only had 11 blinds, but to continue there, I feel like he's always going to have, jacks plus. So I feel like ace queen is should be an easy fold for him. Mm-hmm. Even though it's only 11 big blind shove, I just feel like he definitely does not have to risk ace queen there at all. So once he shoved, I honestly was hoping to, of course, see a flip or even just give me those 3 outs and
just
and
not
see
worst
kings.
case scenario.
Yeah,
exactly.
not the less than 10% equity.
So this was a call by Romeo on the button. Castagnon checking his option. Romeo made it 175,000 on the flop. No betting action on the turn. And the river. Is it going to get checked down? Yes, it will.
Jack high is going to win this hand. Oh, sorry, pair of tens. Pair of tens was Jeffrey. I know it's not much consolation at this point. You had a decent payday. It's not the win you wanted. I just wanted to show you this right here. Player Jeffrey Hakeem scored 117 points on my fantasy team for EPT Deauville.
Awesome. I was honestly honored to hear that you had me on your team. Really, everyone who tuned in yesterday was a big fan of the commentary you guys did, and I didn't know that you had me on my team. And again, I don't know if you guys have been talking about the fantasy poker app all week, but it's incredible. I think you guys have been enjoying it. I'm so happy something like that's out for the players, for everyone involved in the poker community. And I got the chance to talk to Alex briefly, the man behind the GPI and everything, and I guess the mastermind behind also now this app. And such a gentleman, very nice guy, and he's doing so many great things for poker, which is he's keeping poker in a good light. And
just keeping people talking about it. We love games.
Yeah.
That's why we're in it. So just one more layer to the game of poker. I mean, of course, it's going to be a huge hit. So, yeah, just wanted to know that you scored for everybody.
The only potential downside of this game is that as it grows and more people build these fantasy teams, that some poor guy goes out in 17th place in a poker tournament, is feeling like absolute murder, and then gets a flurry of tweets from people who are disappointed in them because they let them down in their fantasy poker team.
Yeah, that wouldn't be cool, but
I also had Glenn Simbaluk, so I was disappointed that Castillon caught that ace myself.
oh yeah.
Not that I'm rooting against him.
Boohabeep raised the button, made it 250,000. Castillon called out of the small blind, and Castillon has led the flop for 350,000.
Now, do you think there's been a lot of unconventional play? Like, it just seemed like, we had analysts, guys who are better analysts than I am, me and James, in here for the majority of the day yesterday, and there's just a lot of head-scratching moments, a lot of really baffling plays. Not from you, luckily, but from several of the people. Asnar, was the author of a few. He was the fellow with the glasses, the older gentleman with the glasses.
Right.
Frank, of course, being one of them. Occasionally Joseph Elcori, sort of playing unconventionally from a short stack. Did you feel the same way? Did you feel frustrated that you could see all these spots and just couldn't
yes.
quite connect?
For sure. When I went to dinner break, I honestly felt really good because you just described it perfectly. People were playing unconventionally and on the ABC side of things, and bad. So I felt like I could definitely take advantage of that, and I went in and I kind of just devised a bit of a plan for when I would head back, and like you said, it just just your standard when you're playing shorthand and you're playing against tighter players who don't have much of a stack to be able to battle against you with. Just your open raises, and when they do defend, firing just your standard continuation bet and everything is going to work such a high percentage of the time, and you're just going to be able to accumulate. So that's what I pushed for before we would get to the final table of 9, before we'd get to the official final table of 8. But again, just that last level, couldn't make that happen. And yes, the unconventional stuff, the defending with the 10 blind after tanking for 2 minutes, and I read the bio on most of the players, and I saw that most of the guys who were left weren't pros. So, that explains a lot of it. These guys don't have experience on their side, and, they're going to be nervous towards the end. They're going to take more time. They're not going to be able to maybe devise a plan.
Well, let's look at what's happening here. Castillon raised his button, and Romeo responded with a 3-bet to 550,000, and I think Castillon's about to say 4-bet in your face.
1.3-ish, is that?
All the good luck to your dealers. Shuffle City.
1.3 spot on.
We have not seen many 4-bets.
He said all in?
All in and a call.
It looks like aces.
Romeo shoves, and it looks like ace-king into aces.
Boy, this guy knows what he's talking about here, huh?
A little ironic. I think I know how ace-king feels right now.
This is the spot that Jeffrey found himself in early doors.
And for
He's
Jeffrey's
already
sake,
shaking his head.
I hope that the ace-king doesn't suck out this time.
Oh, yeah, I'm rooting for Walid. I'm rooting for Walid to win this thing, of course. But, three-handed is even more of a giant cooler than 8-handed with ace-king to aces. This is just incredibly unlucky. He's got a bit more of a sweat than I do.
Yep, running diamonds are a possibility for Romeo. Also, there
Let's
can
see
be a
face
chop.
card. Yeah, a little sweat.
The turn is a 3.
Chop sweat.
A deuce would chop it. Romeo cannot win the hand outright, but he can survive with a deuce on the river. It's a 10. So we lose Robert Romeo from Belgium in 3rd place. He'll collect 275,000 euros, and we are going heads up here in the EPT Deauville main event. It will be Remy Castillon of France against Walid Bouhabib of Lebanon. 17.8 million plays 8.6 million. Well, we've come to the end of the level. We're going to take a break as they set up for heads up. When they come back, they'll be playing 80-160 with a 20k ante, and we will play down to a winner. We will crown a champion on the PokerStars.net European Poker Tour. Jeffrey, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us.
My pleasure. Awesome to meet you guys.
Congratulations once again.
So we're going heads up here in Deauville, and our live coverage continues shortly right here on PokerStars.tv. Welcome back to Deauville and the final table of the PokerStars.net European Poker Tour main event. We are heads up already. If you've only just joined us, A, where have you been? B, you've missed a lot of action. And you've missed 6 eliminations because these are the final 2 players. Remy Castignon from France and Walid Bouhabib from Lebanon. Castignon with a 92 big blind stack. Walid Bouhabib with 54 big blinds. So Castignon with almost a 2-1 chip lead over his opponent. And to call the action at this heads-up final table, it's James Hartigan, Joe Stapleton, and Walid Bouhabib's friend and fellow countryman, Jeffrey Hakeem, the 8th place finisher in this tournament. Welcome back, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying with us. We appreciate it. It's nice to get some insight on both your friend at the table and what it's like being there.
Yeah, you guys couldn't get rid of me that fast, huh? Just like they tried to today, but they somehow succeeded.
So just to remind you what's at stake here, second place pays 475,000 euros. The winner will become an EPT champion and receive 770,000 euros. Lucas just asked on Twitter, is it possible to chop the prize money in an EPT? Now, normally, Lucas, the answer would be yes, but not in France. French gaming law prohibits any deals being done.
And that's the thing. Walid just asked me. I got the chance to talk to him for a minute on his break, and he asked me if he should suggest a chop or anything. And I guess I didn't know that it's the EPT won't kind of make it official and everything. So I guess there's going to be no deal making here, and which makes it all the more exciting.
Yeah, almost 300,000 euros difference between those 2 prizes, which is just, it's pretty crazy. You're definitely not giving up at any point when there's 300,000 euros involved.
Oh yeah, and for Walid, I think honestly he's chasing that title. I think that matters to him a lot more than the monetary reward. He's just going to be playing his heart out, I hope, and he looks confident. He's been playing, I think, the best so far of any of the other players at this final table, and I think he looks ready to grab it.
We'll talk about Remy Castignon in a moment, Jeffrey, but obviously you know Walid. Just tell us, how long has he been on the scene? How long has he been playing poker?
Let's see, I first met Walid at our local casino back in Lebanon, I want to say in about year 2007 or so. And like I said, poker is not his profession, so he loves the EPT circuit. When he has time, of course, he travels to as many of them as he can. This is his maybe 7th cash or so. He's had 2 deep runs in Monte Carlo, of final 2 tables at PCA, where he was devastated. I remember we were talking at dinner a couple of nights ago. He told me, when I get knocked out of a tournament, it's like I just got slayed. It's so he's there fighting, and he knows what he's doing. He's got experience on his side too, and I think he's going to perform well.
And you said that he's not a professional poker player for his main job. What is his background? Where does he come from? Well,
Born in Lebanon, lived there his whole life, as far as I know. He works for a Swedish company, and I don't want to go into specifics because I'm unsure of them, unfortunately. But yes, a family man. He's got I think 2 or 3 kids, and.
Is his day job a 9 to 5 or something that sort of gives him the ability to go play all these events?
Oh no, it's flexible. I definitely don't think it's a 9 to 5.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And how about you? What's your deal? Because you fly the flag for Lebanon. You don't have an accent of any sort.
I know that.
You sound awfully American.
Right. I am a dual citizen, and this is the funny thing. People, I get approached, and it's always I'm torn between the 3 nationalities because I was born in the States. I've lived my whole life in Lebanon. My parents are Lebanese, family, everything. And then I moved over to Canada, actually, after my first year of college in the States. I moved over to Montreal, and I was there for 5 years or so. And I opened up all my poker accounts there. So on PokerStars, I'm registered as with Canada as my location. So then when people approach me, it's like, oh yeah, you're Canadian and everything. I'm like, no. Then and then people would just, it's funny because they assume I'm Canadian, and then it's
well, I'm sort of Canadian, Lebanese, American.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So let's pick up the action here, guys. Walid Bouhabib button raised to 350,000. Castignon called. He has checked the flop. He's playing in flow. Looks like we're going to see a continuation bet from Boo Habib.
That's the thing. I think if Walid plays position, of course, plays his buttons well, gets value out of his hands, I feel like Remy will sometimes be calling him down too light, will make a mistake against
We've certainly
him.
seen that, yeah.
Exactly. We all witnessed that hand, and it's hard to shake off that hand sometimes. It could just, plague you for the rest of the day and maybe, be the reason to the snowball effect to cause other mistakes. So Remy's definitely capable of slipping up, and that's why I just feel like even though Remy's got the chip lead, Walid can just be a bit more focused and just chip up and do well.
Well, Remy check called the flop for 400,000. It went check on the turn. The board now reads 4, 6, 10, 3, 10 with 3 clubs out there. Remy checks a third time.
Now Walid can definitely value bet a lot of hands here. At 6, I think he'd be happy to check back. Of course, any kind of 4 if he has that.
Any hand with marginal showdown value, he can check behind.
Definitely, yeah. I think he can definitely check back a 10 on the turn too, and just because it's not the best turn card to see, and of course put in a value bet here.
Castellano doesn't look happy to see that bet.
550,000.
We've certainly seen this before, him not be all that happy to see a bet and call anyway. And he did call.
I think we heard ace high. Oh, 6s, okay, yeah.
Value bets a 6 and it's good.
Nice.
Very well played by Boo Habib. Looks like he gave him some solid advice. Now we've seen, we were talking before about like how well Castellano can maybe play after making that big mistake earlier and how it's affected him mentally. I'll say this. He hasn't been playing his best when he's had a chip lead. There have been other times when we saw him make a bunch of very loose calls when he had the chip lead. He managed to get that back, managed to bust Rudelich. You think that would have sort of maybe repaired any mental damage that happened earlier in the day. But again, he's in the position where he just might be like a little too excited to close this out and make loose calls, as we just saw in this hand.
Certainly he likes to make hero calls, that's for sure.
You're absolutely right. I think experience isn't on his side also, and he might be, a bit on edge, a bit nervous being here, and, such a big showdown and stuff and playing for a lot of money, and it's just going to cloud your mind also. And you're not going to be able to maybe think out a good plan to play a hand or the best decision to take on every street, and so on. That's I think what you guys saw a bit of before, and he could just maybe again get maybe too excited when he's got the chip lead and cause him to make a mistake.
James, what do we know about Remy?
Well, let's just give you the password for the free roll first of all. London is the word you need to get yourself into that game. Well, Remy is 29 years old, and this information comes from EPT Media Coordinator Matt Harper and the PokerStars blog team, and we thank them for that information. I mean, the first thing to say is he came into this final table with 40% of the chips in play, and he lost that huge chip lead very early on and then reclaimed it just before this heads-up battle began. Now, this is a guy, although he's been playing poker since 2007, he's mainly playing online. He plays a lot of online MTTs and satellites for big live events, and even making the final table here in Deauville is his best result to date. So a cash for 60,000 for 8th place would have been his best live score, and here he is now guaranteed the better part of €500,000 and obviously hoping to play for the win.
Yeah, too bad someone else had to take 8th place.
Oh, sorry. He sits at the table with a lot of confidence, which maybe is sort of what, he plays with a lot of confidence too, which maybe is hurting him a little bit. Which maybe causing him to make a few too many of those hero calls, a few too many of those light calls.
I'm a little confused, I want to say, with him, because at the start of play yesterday, he was playing well. Yes, he had the confidence going, he had the stack going and everything, and I didn't see anything out of line. There were, of course, a few maybe loose calls of a 4-bet, for example, and I didn't get to see a showdown, so I could only guess what he had and stuff. And when we first moved over to the feature table, I think you guys saw him lose some chips, but there wasn't anything out of the ordinary. He lost.
No.
Yeah, he lost maybe a couple of flips or something, or yeah. And then with the start of yesterday's call at the final table bubble, and before that, of course, we had the redraw, and he moved over, and he just accumulated chips, and I didn't get the chance to see how he was doing that. And then when he moved over, he had, of course, a mountain of chips, and then made quite a loose call in the bubble. And you guys were talking about this chip lead, and I remember reading up that you guys compared it to the chip lead that of 3 years ago now of also my good friend Nick in Monte Carlo, where he entered with about 40-50% of the chips in play. And he was able to steamroll the final table. He never looked back, and he, went three-handed with I want to say 16 million or so of the 23 or 24 million in play. So when you've got just such a big final table, if you don't have the experience to keep chipping up and take the low variance spots, put the people under pressure when you can, and avoid playing fives by making, incredibly loose calls on every street or so, this is poker that you're supposed to know, of course. I see a big pot kind of developing here.
You were talking there about Nicola Schwiti, the champion of the Grand Final in Season 6. So Bouhabib called on the button. Castagnon then raised to 450k, and Bouhabib made the call. It went check on the flop. Castagnon bets 850,000 on the turn, 10 on the river. 2.6 million in the middle already.
Now, I automatically want to rule out, with Walid, the Queen 10 type of hands, which I feel, always going to be betting the flop. He could be checking a jack on the turn to, kind of play it tricky and, maybe get value on later streets. This looks like a healthy bet here also, about 1.8, 1.6.
We just wait for the graphics guy to cost 1.5.
Yeah, he of course never has a king in his range here, and I don't know if there's any like mid pairs he could be checking back the flop with and calling a turn bet, which he would of course have to do. Oh, he called.
Proudly displaying a king by the looks of things. No,
Two
queens.
He just called pre-flop. Is that right?
No, he raised.
Oh, he raised. Okay.
It was while he limped the button.
Oh, he limped.
And Castagnon then raised it. So Castagnon way out in front now with nearly 16.2 million. Walid Bouhabib with 7.2 million. So better than a 2-1 chip lead now for Castagnon. SB says, I hope the final table is recorded and will be online on PokerStars.tv soon. Yes, we can guarantee that the last 2 days of our coverage, so yesterday and today, will be uploaded very soon. And there's a chance that some of the earlier coverage will also be uploaded, but we can't guarantee it. Another Jeffrey on Twitter asked, what happened to the bigger final table like we saw in Season 8? Just to clarify, guys, there are kind of televised EPT events and there are non-televised EPT events, and this one falls into the latter category. So it's just a standard poker table these guys are playing at.
You see Remy Castagnon's nearly 70% of the chips in play. Fortunes change fast, heads up, however.
I should mention, when we were talking about some of the Lebanese players in the tournament, Jeffrey, that obviously there was a lot of confusion over the last 3 days because there was a Joseph Merwad in the field.
All right.
And obviously everyone thought, oh, potential 2-time champion. And then we realized, no, it's a different Joseph Merwad.
That's right. Who I just said goodbye to. Now he's on his way back, I guess, to Paris for a couple of weeks. he was still there yesterday. He just unfortunately didn't have things go his way. Played well, I think, and just lost that big flip to Remy.
Fernando asks, are you guys going to stream the high roller? Well, obviously these two final tables, these two heads-up battles are taking place at exactly the same time. We did give you the choice. There was a viewer's vote, which table you wanted us to show, whether to stick with the main event or move to the high roller. And the resounding majority, 70% of you, said no, please stick with the main event. So we're honouring those wishes and we're going to follow this tournament through to its conclusion. And I think that was the right result because we had a lot invested in this tournament, having been following it from day 1A. Just to remind you, the blinds are 80 and 160,000 with a 20,000 ante. Only just started this level.
I think it's the first time Walid drops under the 50 big blind mark, which maybe won't allow him to play as freely. Maybe not be able to defend as wide. Because again, heads up right now, I feel like with Walid having a bit more of the experience, just being able to make a hand and chip up by getting some value out of Remy, which I think he can do much better than Remy can do, was what I felt going to give him a bit more of an edge. And of course, with the mountain of chips, it's hard to do that.
Now, you mentioned Walid being more experienced, but as far as heads up goes, how much experience does he have? A lot of people don't make it to this stage of a tournament very often.
Yeah, that's true. Heads up, he is lacking in experience just because he does play more live, and it is his first EPT final table. So the heads up experience is limited, I think, for both players. And but he's been playing with him all day. And he's played several heads-up pots, watched Remy play some heads-up pots. So he has all that in the back of his mind.
Should point out that it will be no small achievement for Remy Castagnon to win this thing. There has only been one French champion on French soil, that player being Lucien Cohen back in Season 7. Although I got the impression, Jeffrey, from what we heard, and obviously we're not down there, we couldn't see the rail, that most of the local support was behind Frank Halfon, and most of those guys seem to have disappeared with Frank's elimination.
Oh yeah, they were definitely making the most noise. I just had a flashback of his little Red Devil again, the awesome little card protector.
I feel like Castillon would be a better poster child for a French winner on French soil than Lucien Cohen.
Oh man. Yeah, it's hard to find good words. I guess when someone has a rat on the table, it's a bit unfortunate. But yeah, well, he speaks French. Does that count for something?
It counts for something in this country. They certainly do appreciate someone that can speak the language.
So obviously we've got new viewers joining us all the time. So just to remind you, this is the final table of the EPT Deauville main event. James Hartigan and Joe Stapleton with you, as we have been for the last few days. We've got Jeffrey Hakim, 8th place finisher in this tournament, joining us at the moment to commentate on this heads-up battle between Walid Bouhabib and Remy Castagnon. And for those of you asking about chip denominations, the smallest chips in play are the greys. They're worth 5,000 each. The red chips are 25,000, and the blue plaques are worth 100,000. There's a handy key scrolling along the bottom of your screen right now. And just to remind you, this is not a televised event. We don't bring the TV crew to all legs of the EPT. So that's why we're bringing you what we call a light webcast. And that's why there are no whole card cameras at the table.
The awesome James Bond plaques, of course, which you don't get to hold often.
Can you imagine if someone tried to, take chips to another tournament and they tried to use one of the blue plaques, like in level 1? They're just like, hey, what's up? No, I started with this, I swear. No, it's just part of my starting chip stack.
It's only in France, I think, that they use them. It's I haven't seen them elsewhere. And maybe I want to say in Morocco, because they follow, of course, the same, French rules.
Raised to 325.
Yeah, the last 3 hands have been raise and take it from the button. Will this be 4 in a row? Not by the looks of things. Will Cassignon defend? Oh, will he 3-bet?
900.
That is a 3-bet.
Early recall. The high roller.
Well, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but there is an all-in and a call in the high roller. Remember, that tournament is heads up as well. If we get a result, we'll let you know what's happened. And a reminder that the PokerStars blog team are covering that tournament in detail, and there are live updates available. PokerStarsblog.com. Let's see how Walid Bouhabib responds to this 3-bet from Remy Castignon. He will fold.
Can we please have a big round of applause for a 10K high roller winner from Czech Republic, Ruzika Wojtek.
So Wojtek Ruzicka has won the high roller. It's just been announced over the tannoy. The Tim Riley's the runner-up. Ruzicka's the champion.
I'm happy to cut to that coverage now if you guys want. If you want to see the high roller coverage, we can switch it anytime you want.
And of course, there'll be an end-of-tournament report appearing very soon on the PokerStars blog. I want to highlight again the awesome quotes board that Rick Dacey started this morning. An idea that he, Stephen Bartley and Howard Swains came up with over breakfast. Rick even tells us what they had for breakfast. 2 boiled eggs, large coffee and several French pastries. And it's some of the amusing things that have been said by players and EPT Live commentators over the last 7 days. Well, we're going to welcome in another guest commentator now on EPT Live. Jeffrey Hakim's going to stay with us, hoping to rail his buddy Walid Bouhabib to victory. And we welcome back to the booth a man whose analysis you've really appreciated over the course of the last few days. He's obviously out of that 2K tournament. Look at these awesome detective skills. I can assume because he's taking a seat next to me that he no longer has chips in that tournament. Dominic Nitscher is back in the booth, and you can send your questions for Dominic on the emails to nuts@pokerstars.tv. You can also tweet using the hashtag EPTLive. Welcome back, Dominic.
Hey guys, I'm back for more.
Good job in the 2K Dom.
Thank you. I got in 260 big blinds with kings. The guy had pocket sixes. It was great for all of us. Everyone at the table had a good laugh. Except for me, of course. No, I just really wanted to do more commentary here. Yeah.
Well, so far, this hand was raised pre-flop by Castignon. Went check-check on the flop, check-check on the turn. Bouhabib has checked the river. And Castignon will bet. So coming back after your extended break, Dominic, are you surprised that A, we're already at heads up, and B, are you surprised it's these two players?
Not at all. Like as soon as I was done doing commentary, I saw my friend Enrico, who was all in with ace-9. So and then they were down to 3. So basically, anything can happen 3-handed, and now I'm not surprised at all. 3-handed play usually moves quite quick.
I think we all knew that it was going to go fast, given the stacks at the start of day and the blind levels. And I felt like it was going to get short-handed fairly quick, with Remy there, Walid, and hopefully myself. But couldn't make it happen today. But yeah, it was just you guys saw that there were a lot of short stacks, and they were going to be either doubling or busting soon.
Was it frustrating?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just how tournaments go sometimes, if there's a lot of short stacks. But now it's good, because now we have plenty of play left heads up, They're both, reasonably deep. We can see lots of interesting poker here, I guess.
But from your perspective, Jeffrey, was it frustrating that yesterday turned into a grind, that you played for 12.5 hours and ensured that the blinds were catching up with everyone?
Yeah, at the end, we were also talking about this. It's, the pace slows down, you get to see less hands and everything, and the poker part, the playing... the flops, turns, and rivers gets minimized. You don't get as much of that, unfortunately. The deeper you get in the tournament, and the higher the blinds get, of course. So the answer is definitely yes. I was a bit annoyed because if you were playing deep enough with these guys, you were just going to be able to to take over. I
Yeah,
felt
basically
And-
what Jeff is saying is that he couldn't really use his advantage, like his poker skills, because the stacks were getting so shallow, and I totally agree with him. It's like kind of what I said.
There's a call. Jack 4, the hand for Castagnon.
It's kind of interesting to see that Castagnon just checked this back twice, and then just makes a bet on the river, and finds a way to get paid off by worse, That's,
yeah, it seems like Walid had to have called with ace high or so.
Yeah, like there's not many other hands really. Maybe he had a small pair, maybe he just hit the 5 or something on the river. It's basically the same hand as ace high.
True.
Yeah.
So now it's 17.3 million plays at 6 million. And Average Joe's just tweeted to say, yeah, Dominic is back. Give us some of those famous German philosophical analysis. Petter's just joined the live stream. Wants an update on the chip stacks and on the final table. Well, obviously we're heads up at the final table, Petter. Just these two guys left. As far as the chip stacks are concerned, I just recapped them there, but the important thing to remember is when we're in progress, when a hand's taking place, those chip stacks are always displayed on the graphic. Granted, they might be a little bit small, so you might want to make the video picture full screen. And as far as those plaques are concerned, I know everyone gets very excited about those plaques. They are the 100,000 chips.
I've never had plaques in a tournament, I don't think. What would you draw?
Morocco. You've had them in Morocco.
Morocco.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh yeah, really. I just kind of forgot, I guess. But it's just like those chips, they just don't bring them out very often. I think they're pretty cool. Like they make for, it kind of feels like a James Bond movie over here with the plaques and everything.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
By the way, if you're interested in knowing how that high roller tournament finished, Wojtek Ruzicka won with a straight versus a pair, had Tim Riley drawing dead when the money went in.
It's a nice result for both of them. Like I was playing with Tim early on in the high roll, and I think he played pretty well. So he seemed like a nice enough guy as well. So I was obviously happy to see him take second there. It's a good score for him. It's his biggest score so far in his career.
Warren DeVille and Martin Jacobson was on the final table. Wasn't he at least supposed to
Finish
go heads
second.
up and continue his trend?
Oh, poor Martin.
Boom.
Martin's a good guy. He's gonna get that win soon enough.
Yeah, I thought this one might actually be the one.
Martin's not the only player who's been in that spot. I mean, your fellow countryman Max Heinzelmann, Dominic, had 2 second-place finishes back-to-back and was so crushed by it that he couldn't play the grand final that year.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with him there. I mean, realistically, you should just be like, oh my god, I finished second in 2 EPTs. That's a massive accomplishment. I'm so lucky, Like you shouldn't be thinking, oh, I finished second,
Psychology's a strange thing.
Well, some people just think that way, and that's just not a great mindset for poker, I guess. But Max is obviously a fantastic player, and I'm happy to see him back on the circuit. I met him last week here.
Castagnon
we got a big pot going on.
Yeah, he raised to
Sorry.
325, and Bouhabib re-raised to 825.
I kind of expected a call here because, of course, Rami's in position, everything, but I was basically rarely seeing him ever fold to 3 bets yesterday, or even the min 4 bets in position.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like he's going to peel wider than most, potentially with weakish hands that we would usually fold to 3 bets, but he's looking to make a hand and get it in at this point.
Absolutely. I totally agree with Jeff there. I've seen him call a lot more than most people would, especially in position and even out of position. So I'm not surprised to see him defend against a 3-bet here at all.
I feel his range is super wide. Anything from the suited connectors, as weak as, the 6-8, 5-6 suited even, he's just going to peel incredibly wide. So his range, to raising and calling the 3-bet fast enough as he did doesn't say much, I feel like, about his holding. It's just, a wide enough range.
Well,
yeah, and I think Bouhabib, on the other hand, he's pretty tight when it comes to 3-betting. We haven't seen him 3-bet light at all. Mm-hmm. So his range is mostly just going to be face cards. So I was kind of expecting this to go maybe check fold a lot, really, because Bouhabib can't really continue on that kind of board that often. It's pretty tough.
With any face cards, he'd have to be, betting that flop. I feel like, it's not a bad flop for the king jack. Of course, queen jack is huge on that flop.
I agree. Yeah, he should be, c-betting there all the time.
Well, I went check on the flop. Here comes the delayed c-bet from Castagnon, or rather,
that's a pretty small bet.
400,000
into a pot of about 1.7 million.
And last but not least, you will observe our partners Shambhala
it kind of just makes me think that he has like a 9 or something. He's just trying to, you know, just protect his hand. Maybe get one more street out of an ace. He's kind of scared that if he bets too much that Habib's just going to fold. So I do think he hit the board there. Maybe he has like a 7 or something, like a 7-8, you know, like 7-6. Which he's just betting like not to face a river bet. He's also basically never expecting to get check raised here. You know, that would just make no sense whatsoever. So what do you think Habib has here?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's you know, ace. Like I said, I'm ruling out any of the Broadway type of hands.
What about like ace jack or like?
Yes, exactly.
Ace
That's
jack,
what
like
I was gonna
ace
say.
jack, ace queen. You know, maybe I'm not sure if
Where he feels compelled to have to call such a small bet on the turn. A lot of ace highs, which he would have to, you know, the ace jack, ace queen. But again, I feel like with ace jack and ace queen, after having 3-bet out of position, he should be.
I'm not sure if he does.
Continuation betting
that's the
that
thing.
flop.
I'm not sure if he does. He seems like the kind of guy who would check those. I feel like.
Now the river doesn't change much at all. If Remy had a made hand before, you know, if he had a 9 like you said he might possibly had, then of course it just got better. But I don't know why it kind of feels like Remy could have bet that on the turn with some kind of, you know, maybe. I don't think it's 7-8 really, but there are some 7s there that he could have bet that small bet with. And
you know, like just a whole bunch of hands there just to protect his equity, basically. Yeah. I do think he has the best end here, like always, pretty much.
Well, he's checked a third time.
I think so, and I don't think if he had picked up a flush draw on the turn, he would bet that small.
I absolutely agree, yeah. As I said, it just looks like he has the best hand here, and he was trying for one more street.
Looks like about 1.4.
I'm fairly sure he has a 9 now. Just like, that's kind of what I want to put him on here. Exactly, because just from the whole way the whole hand play out. He's just trying to get the hero call, he's trying to somehow polarize himself, and trying to get the call from ace high. As in, he's trying to make it look like he has a busted flush draw, but I don't think he plays a flush draw that way. And maybe he did pick up something like 9-8 or, you know.
Now the thing is, Walid should have expected this bet on the river, and
yes, absolutely.
And I'm not sure what the plan was when he was calling the turn. You know, he was of course, if he did have ace high, hoping it would go check on the river. But if you're not, you should be expecting this bet on the turn. So if you're not, and you're not prepared to call the river, and you want to avoid that spot, then he just has to fold the turn.
You just gotta fold the turn, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of the plays that works really well against inexperienced players. Is where you just bet small on the turn to make them put in one more bet, and you know, on the river you can just do what you want.
Well, a huge chip lead for Castagnon now. He's got nearly 19 million, and Walid Bouhabib has dropped below the 5 million mark, so it's a 4-1 chip lead for the Frenchman.
Yeah,
I mean, if he had a 9 there, I think he played it pretty well.
I agree. If he didn't have a 9, that was well played by Remy.
I mean, if he didn't have a 9 there, I was gonna be like, I mean, I'm not. But maybe he had like a 10, but I don't think he would check back a 10 on the flop. Yeah, I'm actually pretty sure he just had a 9.
I think he can comfortably value bet a 7 there on the river too. Maybe not that sizing.
I don't think he would go that big. I mean,
yes,
he might bet
the sizing I might agree with you, but he, you know, on the river he knows a 7 is good too all day. And
yeah.
And I haven't really watched closely with his bet sizing patterns and how much he, you know, how hard he values his hands.
I'm not sure if he's capable of betting a 7. I mean,
I think he definitely is capable. And in his spot, you know, if the action somehow went that way, I would be very comfortable betting a 7.
I would be too.
It's just a question of the sizing. Now, unfortunately, Walid here is going to be even more paralyzed with under 30 bigs.
What were the chip counts like when the heads-up started?
Castagnon came in with the chip lead. I think it was about 14 million, playing about 8 million.
So sounds about right. Yep.
So he's just been grinding away, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Raising a quick call.
Just very quickly, Dominic, Average Joe said you were talking about Max Heinzelmann. Where is he now? Haven't heard from him for a long time. I mean, you mentioned he's back on the circuit now?
Yeah, I mean, he plays some stuff. He has a girlfriend now, I think. She's American, so he spends a lot of time in the US. He doesn't play much online anymore. I mean,
He was here.
he was here, yeah, but
Yeah.
he doesn't plan on playing much. I was talking to him. He's a great player, and, well, he was playing some online poker last week, and, well, hopefully he's back.
This is hand 100 of the final table. Castagnon raised. Went check on the flop.
I mean, Castagnon is just always going to bet the turn here if he checks back. Especially that turn, which is an ace. It's like a pretty good card to bet after you check back. Because like most of your hands that you check back on a flop like this, they're going to be ace-high hands. And then you will bet them on that turn, obviously.
No, of course, I feel like Walid has to call him with a jack or 10 here.
Definitely,
has to
yeah.
look him up and
Queen
and
on
hope
river.
the river doesn't come that card, because that's pretty awful for Boo Habib's range here.
yeah, it's very hard for Walid to have a king here. The only king that would make sense, of course, would be the king 10 or king jack, and
I could have like king X of diamonds. That'd be a very passive way to play the hand, but it's certainly possible.
if he checks on the flop, then he almost just has to check call. I feel with king X of diamonds on the turn, I don't think he can kind of raise and face the possibility of having to get it in or so.
Yeah.
Oh, he led this river.
Yes.
See, if he had a king here, I'd just definitely prefer check raising.
I agree.
Because, like, as we've said, it's very unlikely that you have a king there, so...
I agree, and it's a perfect. If Remy was bluffing, it's a perfect card for him to continue to bluff because Walid can't really call without a king.
And
you know
he
now
knows that he doesn't have a king. Yeah, that's just...
Any 10 or jack that he possibly looked him up with on the turn is now... Okay.
Calls, yeah.
King 10. All right. That was one of course, the kings he would have to call the turn bet with.
And then he just hits the perfect card on the river and makes a nice bet.
He deserves one.
Yeah,
He's had a rough time so far.
Yeah, it's not been going his way, this heads-up battle, so he gets a little bit back there. Gabrielle's just tweeted saying, hello, no password today. We've been giving out that password intermittently. If you want to get into today's EPT Live free roll, which starts at 7:15 Central European Time, the password you need to play in that game is London, which is the next leg of the EPT. London, all lowercase. London's today's password, and we will kick things off in London on March the 5th. That's when the festival starts. Satellites are running now on PokerStars. Now, if you can't be in London, or you don't manage to satellite into the tournament, our live coverage of the main event begins on Sunday the 10th of March. That's when we're going to be streaming Day 1A. And there'll be coverage every single day of the main event, right through to and including the final table on Saturday the 16th of March. So mark those dates in your diary now. We did it here in Deauville. We're going to do it the same in London.
You guys work hard.
Damn straight. We know that Elke, Vanessa Selps, Vanessa Russo, Jake Cody, Liv Baree, Fatima DeMelo, Chris Moneymaker and Daniel Negreanu are among the members of Team PokerStars Pro who'll be playing EPT London. Normally draws a pretty big crowd.
I mean, London's always one of the biggest.
Why wouldn't it? Awesome venue.
Yeah, I'm not sure about. I'm not sure this time if it's an awesome venue. We'll see about that.
And there's a chance right now that this could get in for all the chips.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Habib's open was to 325. Castagnon's 3-bet is to just over $1 million.
That's a big 3-bet.
And remember,
It's a very big 3-bet. Yeah.
Boo Habib started the hand with 6.3 million.
Yeah.
It looks like he doesn't want to get called.
And
I mean,
again,
it looks like he's just trying to play for stacks here.
Yeah, Remy looks interested. He's eyeing Walid's moves carefully, and the blinking rapidly.
I think he looks super strong here. He's just...
He does. I kind of agree.
It's like he's excited to just like play a big pot here. And
Are we going to need a red triangle? Yes, we are. He's all in.
Call.
Yeah, and
Well,
not yet.
Castagnon
it
will
kind of
kick
did
out.
look like he was going to snap him off.
Now, I've seen Remy sometimes with big hands just wait for a count.
No, I'm still expecting to get. I'm still expecting him to call. To be honest,
I think so.
Just like the whole way he acted and everything, and like how big he sized it pre-flop, it just kind of. Maybe he just. I mean, he's not overly excited to get it in, but he he feels like he has a strong hand here, and he's going to make
But I
the
do
call.
think Waleed has the best of it here. He's going to be jamming Ace 10, Ace Jack plus, I think for sure.
Is this going to be another one of Castignon's hero calls?
No, I don't think so. I think Castagnon actually has a pretty good hand here.
On the button, move all in. Action, close play. To him.
Now that's the thing. This is where, again, I think maybe Dominic mentioned... Oh, he did call.
Of course he did call. Yeah,
Castagnon calls. Well, this could be it. King 8 of hearts is the hand for Walid Bouhabib. Pocket 3's the hand for Castagnon.
A little surprised to see both of those hands. Definitely. I didn't expect Walid to shove that much with that hand. He's in a flip right now, which is great.
It's a great result for King 8.
Yes, it is.
I just don't know what to say.
That's a big shove and a big call, and that is a flop, which gives Castagnon the up and down straight draw to go with his pair of threes.
7's no good, though.
Absolutely, a 7 would give Bouhabib a better straight. So it is a bit of an action flop.
I mean, the threes are just like, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of big blinds to get in with that hand.
It is.
But I did predict this was going to happen, kind of.
King 8 or 7 needed for Walid Bouhabib.
Let's see it.
It's an ace, it's not enough. We have a champion here in Deauville. Remy Castagnon becomes the second French player to win the EPT Deauville main event, following in the footsteps of Lucien Cohen 2 years ago. It was a flip, but surprise, guys, that those were the two hands we saw when the all-in was called.
I thought Bouhabib was super strong. I thought he had picked up on what we had seen, and he was going to have a really strong hand there.
I think so as well. And again, this just touches a bit back to what we were talking about Remy before. He 3-bet without a plan, really, and it just kind of, comes to what we were talking about a bit of his inexperience and everything, and then he evaluated the situation again and then decided to call. Whereas with a hand like threes, you don't really want to be getting in a flip situation for that many chips, because you're at best going to be in a flip spot. So
especially if you feel like you're the better player,
yeah, no, and he's got all the chips, so why take the higher variance round and flip for it all?
Yeah, you're just kind of praying for a flip at this point, and he also given how strong he looked, I was just not expecting to see King 8 there at all,
So here's how it finished. The man sitting to my direct left, Jeffrey Hakim, was the first player out today. He did come into the final table as the short stack. Then we lost one of the two Belgians to make the final, Noel Gaines. Then another Lebanese player fell, Joseph El Khoury, our 6th place finisher. Special agent Frank Halfon was called away to a mission in Marseille, so exited in 5th. Enrico Rudlitz, the German who claimed the chip lead early doors, exited in 4th. Then the other Belgian, Robert Romeo, went in 3rd, giving us a relatively short heads-up battle, less than 45 minutes, which saw Remy Castagnon defeat Walid Bouhabib. Well, Jeffrey, I guess you want to get onto the floor and commiserate and congratulate your fellow countryman and your friend Walid.
Yes, I do. I think he just maybe got a little flustered, heads up there, didn't have things go his way, and just had too big of a mountain to climb. He ended up being in a flip situation in that spot, but again, like you said, he did an absolutely great job, has played very well, and there will be a next time for him.
Well, let's say goodbye to Jeffrey Hakim, our 8th place finisher, and thank you, Jeffrey, for joining us on EPT Live. We're going to welcome back Joe Stapleton to the booth in just a moment. So, Dominic, let's just recap that final hand. Bouhabib raises, that's fine. Castagnon makes a very big 3-bet to more than $1 million. What do you make of Bouhabib's shove there with the King 8? What is he reading into Castagnon's sizing?
I mean, Jeff and I were both super surprised to see him turn on the King 8 there.
You were really surprised, Dominic. Your mouth was wide open when he made that call.
Because Jeff and I both said, he's always getting called here. And even if the guy, Castagnon just likes to tank for a bit, he was always calling. I thought there was no chance in hell that he was going to fall to the 4-bet. He was just You know, like he was waiting for the count, and then he just said, "All right, I call." And you know, just given that information and given how strong he looked with his sizing, I was just very, very surprised to see him turn over King 8. You know,
I mean, both hands were kind of surprising, though, right?
I mean, like the threes, they were not that surprising, I guess, for Castagno, because he's been known to get it in too light in the past, and this time he at least had a pair. Like,
well, Average Joe says pocket fives and pocket threes, amazing hands to remember this champion.
oh, that's a bit harsh. I mean, Castagno, he made a few mistakes here and there, but it's a bit harsh to like just say he played bad or anything.
Well, he came in with 40% of the chips in play. He lost that chip lead early on. He reclaimed it, and now he is a winner. Dominic, from a player's point of view, do you think this has been a successful festival here in Deauville, from the French poker series right through to the EPT?
Absolutely. Like, every side event here has been really big, especially early on. Like, the FPS was absolutely massive. Like, we were back in the casino, and the room just wasn't big enough. Like, there were just too many tables, and like, it was just the room was absolutely packed at all stages. And you know, the FPS high roller was great as well. Like, all tournaments leading up to the main event were fantastic, and I thought they did a fantastic job here in Deauville. You know, like, they had a lot of tournaments. It was not easy to organize, and as soon as they moved over here to the conference center, I think they did an even better job. Like, then they had enough space, and everything was well organized. So I'm looking forward for next season.
As you said at the start of the week, Joe, you walked into that tournament room, and from your brief experience on the tour, you found it one of the better environments that we've ever operated in.
Yeah, well, just everything in Europe is smaller. The hotel rooms are smaller. The tournament areas are smaller. And this is a room that had plenty of space, a nearby bar, tons of, this sounds silly, but like lots of bathrooms nearby. It was just like a really great space to have a tournament, room for all the tables, room to have drinks. And it just was like a big open space and just felt comfortable the whole time. So I have to imagine as a player, it's probably one of the more comfortable spaces you guys have had to play in.
It absolutely is. You know, like there's usually the main problem is like the rooms are too small. You know, there's no bar nearby. The restrooms are not nearby. Like, especially in the regular casino here, you had a lot of problems if you would just, like, there were 15-minute breaks, but you can't really get out of the room because the room is too packed.
Sure, yeah.
You have like 800 people just trying to get out of one single door, and you know, like, as soon as you get out of there, there's you know, like only 5 minutes left in your break, and then you can get back.
And there's 700 people waiting in line for the bathroom.
And yeah, and then you're just trying to get back in the room, and by the time you get to your table, which is on the other side, you have missed 4 hands. That's just a massive problem. But in this venue, we had no problems at all, and I think it was fantastic.
So now we've reached the end of the week. Now we've reached the end of this main event coverage. Joe, how are you feeling about this continuous coverage? Have you survived, first of all?
I've survived. You know, things were. I was a little worse for the wear today, I would say. You know, there was I was a little stumbly at various points today. But what I really like most of all about it is that a lot of times, even when I've done live broadcasts before, they fly us in for the final table or for like the final 3 tables, and being able to have watched it from start to finish, we are able to deliver a lot more emotion because we are emotional. We've been following these players since the beginning. We can do better commentary. I don't have the best poker analytical mind yet, but I was able to watch these guys from start to finish, and even me, Monkey Boy Joe Stapleton, could at least say what I had seen them play, how I'd seen them play before, what their attitude looked like compared to their attitude on days prior to this. And we all care a lot more about all of the people at this table, whereas a lot of times, sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, we come in, we're like, okay, like, we just want it to finish as quickly as possible. But every single one of these players had a story, and all of them are deserving winners.
I've got a bit of housekeeping to do. The first thing to do is to thank everyone who watched this live stream, especially everyone who watched the tournament from the beginning, who joined us last Sunday and watched all the way through to this Saturday. And thank you so much for all of your questions, comments, emails, tweets. We really appreciate your interaction.
Thanks very much, guys. You help us provide the content for this show.
Our thanks to the Barrier Casino for hosting this event, to their staff and the entire EPT team, both the events team and the production team for this awesome webcast. As we say, Joe and I are very much the voices of this. It's the heroes behind the cameras, behind all the technology, who really do all the hard work, and we couldn't do it without them. Our thanks also to the PokerStars blog team for all their information and their contributions over the course of the week.
Yeah, we are just simply the mouthpieces, and I'm really proud. I think this is the best tour on the planet, and that's not just the production of the show. That is everyone from tournament directors to floor staff to dealers to the people who build the rigging. So thanks, everybody.
And we want your feedback. nuts@pokerstars.tv. Have you enjoyed what you've been seeing? What do you want to see in the future? Do you want to be a guest commentator in the future? nuts@pokerstars.tv. Well, it's time for us to hand over to the winners' ceremony. So from me, James Hartigan, and Joe Stapleton, for one last time, it's good night from Deauville.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the winning ceremony of the EPT Deauville Season 9. The first step is me an honor, and would like to introduce you the EPT President, Mr. Edgar Stuchli, and the Tournament Director of Casino Brea, my colleague, Lucille Denos. Welcome on the stage. Just a few updates about this tournament. We had 782 runners in this tournament, making a prize pool about 3.7 million euro. And the winner will take home 770,000 euro. And the winner, he's coming from France. He's 29 years old. He lives in a small village, Saint-Denis-le-Gros. And he started already the final table with 40% of the chips. And his best result so far was to reach his final table. And now his best result is to take home 770,000 euro and the title of an EPT champion. So give me a very nice hand of the EPT champion, EPT Deauville Season 9, Monsieur Rémi Castagno.
Yeah, finally we have our new champion, and for EPT it's time to say goodbye to Deauville. On behalf of the whole team, I would like to thank our players, the staff, press and media, our event sponsors and our partners, Casino Barriere. I hope you enjoyed your time as much as we did, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next stop of Season 9 of the European Poker Tour in London. Have a good trip home. Bye-bye.